Chapter 988. Bei Lian drew a sharp intake of breath as she glowered at Enlin. Although it was true that her master's master was her grandmaster, she was still unable to accept Enlin as her grandmaster. This sudden change in status dealt a heavy blow to her fragile heart. Enlin immediately explained upon seeing Bei Lian's furious expression. "I'm just joking. Please don't take it to heart, Dragon Princess." Bei Lian pursed her lips and cupped her fists in salute. "Welcome back to the sect, Enlin. There are no outsiders here, so there's no need to be so polite." Enlin patted Bei Lian's shoulder. Bei Lian blushed. "There are no outsiders here? Does that mean he doesn't treat me as an outsider anymore?" "Oh, that's right, Dragon Princess. I gave your father and your fifth brother a good beating. You don't mind, do you? Good job. Who told them to bully Master like that?" Bei Lian replied without hesitation. Xiaoza was very touched upon hearing this. "Then you wouldn't mind if I accidentally killed your brother, right? Bei Lian, Enlin, do I have to pretend to cry in grief before forgiving you?" Bei Lian's eyes blinked as a thoughtful expression appeared on her face. Just tell me the truth," Xiaoza said with difficulty. "To be honest, I was a little sad, but it's all in the past, so I don't feel anything special now," Bei Lian replied truthfully. Xiaoza heaved a sigh of relief. He was truly afraid that this incident would affect their relationship as master and disciple. And Lin looked at Bei Lian speechlessly. This girl was completely siding with an outsider now. "Ever since I was abandoned by my father like a tool due to my bloodline and was forced to marry that commander, my feelings toward the Dragon Court have come to an end. As long as you don't hurt Princess Inu, I don't care," Bei Lian continued. And Lin knew about this. At the time, aside from Inu, who was still fighting for Bei Lian, all of the other siblings had looked on coldly from the sidelines. Bei Lian's heart had already been completely broken. A hint of loneliness flashed through the eyes of the woman beside Enlin, and she couldn't help but offer words of consolation. "Don't think about these things, Dragon Princess. The 4-9 Immortal Sect will always be your home." Bei Lian couldn't help but glance at the man beside her. She saw the warm and carefree smile on his face before silently averting her gaze elsewhere, and a certain chord in her heart was tugged at. "Of course, this is also my home in the Kingdom of the 9 States," Enlin added. Bei Lian replied in a gentle voice. Somewhere in Xiao Longnu's heart, she silently added the label of family to Enlin. Everyone chatted for a while, and Enlin also told them about the battle with the Dragon Court cultivators. "The most powerful being in the Dragon Court is indeed Ao Qingyu. My father, Ao Meng, ranks 3rd in power, and the two of them have already sworn Dao-heart vows to never look for trouble with the 4-9 Immortal Sect again. This is indeed a good thing." Bei Lian felt a lot more at ease after hearing this. And Lin's expression was also quite relaxed. He had only defeated Ao Qingyu through trickery. In a fair and square battle, he really wouldn't be able to defeat Ao Qingyu. Ao Qingyu was just too cocky. With their two most powerful enemies eliminated, what threat did the Dragon Court still have? "Wait, you said your father ranks 3rd? And Lin was astonished. Bei Lian nodded. "My big sister, Ao Xiaowu, is also a return to void final stage mighty figure. Her cultivation base has already surpassed my father's, but she doesn't like to fight, so the Dragon Tribe has ranked her below my 5th brother. She is currently the most threatening being to our 4-9 Immortal Sect. However, her indifference toward worldly affairs has made our sect a safer place." And Lin couldn't help but nod. "I love people like that." Bei Lian turned to Enlin from the corner of her eyes. Enlin hurriedly explained, "I love people like her who can't be bothered to look for trouble with us." A faint smile appeared on Bei Lian's face. "Are you really not interested? My big sister has fair skin, beautiful features, and long legs." Enlin replied with a righteous expression, "I'm a man of integrity, so don't talk to me like this." "Huh." Bei Lian was nonchalant. "The Dragon Court is basically no longer a threat, and the other return to void final stage mighty figures won't be able to kill you, but you definitely shouldn't go to the Dragon Court headquarters. There's an extremely terrifying formation there, and even Dao integration stage super mighty figures would be in danger if they went there." And Lin waved a hand. "Don't worry, Why would I go there? To rob someone? The two of them chatted as they walked, and they soon arrived at a Dow Plaza. The sun had already set below the horizon, and the Dow Plaza was bathed in a layer of dusk. A vibrant little girl was brandishing a wooden sword on the Dow Plaza, and her clothes were completely drenched in sweat. She was clearly very tired, but she was still persevering. 3,000 more strikes, and you'll be able to complete your mission for today. Go, Yiling, you can do it. The little girl was silently encouraging herself as she swung the sword in her hand with complete focus. She didn't even notice that someone had arrived beside her. Little Ling, your sword-swinging posture is still too deliberate. A warm and familiar voice suddenly sounded. The little girl's movements faltered, and she turned to look beside her with a confused expression. Her bright eyes were wide open, and there were beads of sweat on her delicate little face. Soon, the confusion in her eyes gradually became clear, and a joyful smile appeared on her face. Master! The little girl threw her arms around the man before her with excitement. And Lin picked the little girl up with an elated expression. Her body was still as light as before, but it didn't look as soft as before. In fact, it had become a lot more sturdy. He pulled out a handkerchief and wiped the sweat from the little girl's face. Little Ling is doing really well. You've already reached the second stage Tao body. Master has taught me well. Yiling chuckled happily. She stared at the man before her with her big, bright eyes, as if she couldn't get enough of him. Come, I'll teach you how to use the sword. Lin placed the little girl back onto the ground. He gently held onto Yiling's little hand and guided her step by step. You can't hold the sword too tightly. You have to use some finesse like this. See, don't you feel like you're achieving the same result with less effort? Yes, Master is so awesome. Master and disciple wielded the wooden swords in their hands with an earnest expression under the light of the setting sun. Again and again, he repeated this simple action tirelessly. Bai Lian stood silently off to the side, and a warm feeling suddenly welled up in her heart as she looked on. Soon night fell, and Lin saw that Yiling was also quite tired, and he dragged her along to the cafeteria to eat. Master, I heard you chased away all of the bad guys from the Dragon Court. That's right. I crushed the Dragon King of the East Sea with a single ball toss. I didn't even have to do anything to kill the number one powerful being of the Dragon Court, Ao Qingyu. That's so impressive. Yiling's eyes glowed with admiration. In her heart, her master was an invincible and indomitable hero. This was something that had been ingrained into her mind ever since they first met. And Lin was ecstatic to see the reverent expression on Yiling's face. As expected, taking an adorable lowly as a disciple was the best. At the very least, he knew everything that Yiling asked. In contrast, Xiaozi wouldn't teach her anything no matter what she asked. Chapter 989. Xiaozi, Tina, Shui Zhantian, Xiao Chou Bai Ling, Lu Qianhuan, the white-scaled wolf god, and Bryce all gathered in the conference room. Bai Ling, you'll be responsible for rewarding the 17 Outer Sect disciples who discovered the Spirit Stone Mine. If there are any suitable seedlings, you can make them Inner Sect disciples, and Lin instructed. Everyone, F*CK off. It was quite clear that this was an extremely fearsome hidden force. We're willing to do anything for the sect, and Lin corrected. And Lin had nothing to say. Bai Ling's brows perked up slightly. What's the point of cultivating if you can't even study well? Knowledge is power. I'll prove this to you in the near future. Bryce's moan reverberated throughout the entire conference room. Speaking of which, both of his disciples seemed to be quite aggressive. Lu Qianhuan glared at Lin with a displeased expression. If you want to do weird things to the tree people, can you please do it when there's no one else around? Everyone looked on expressionlessly at the tree people who had reached their climax. So fragrant. Yiling's aptitude was indeed very good. She had only cultivated for 3 months, yet she had already reached the second stage Tao body and was very close to reaching the third stage Tao body. As long as she wasn't struggling to make ends meet, he was quite satisfied. Now, let's welcome the pavilion leader of the Spirit Pavilion and the head of the Divine Mirror Executive Department, Tina, to speak. And Lin, whenever he wasn't here, Xiao Zhe was in charge of Yi Ling's daily training. He felt like an old man who was about to retire. Gasp! Everyone's heart began to beat faster upon hearing this. As expected, all of you can go die. He didn't think too much about it, and quickly began to think about what to give this adorable disciple of his. Yi Ling held the fruit in her arms, as if it were a precious treasure. Don't worry, Master. I'll only eat one every week, and I'll definitely listen to you. By the way, when are the Blood Pavilion recruiting? Bryce has been a lone general for a long time, Bai Ling asked. A vibrant smile appeared on Lin's face. He didn't expect Bryce to have such a drastic reaction. A weary expression appeared on Bryce's face. If possible, I want to be a plant. All the core disciples in the sect are cultivating in an orderly manner. The one with the highest rank is Bai Lian, who has only recently broken through to the soul formation final stage. The one with the lowest rank is Chu Ming and Zhou Yu, who have only just begun drawing energy into their bodies and are only at the first stage Dao body. Not only was Bai Ling not embarrassed by the fact that her disciple had the lowest cultivation base, but there was even a hint of smugness on her face. While others were eating and drinking porridge, trying their best to survive. This was probably the treatment that the disciple of a tycoon master would receive. Bryce looked at Lin with a scorching gaze. I'll go through fire and water for the sect master. Take this pile of 9th grade spirit fruits. They can replenish your chi and blood and stabilize your meridians and bones. Eat one every week, so don't overeat yourself. And Lin handed a bag of green spirit fruits to Yi Ling ahem. The Blood Pavilion can remain as it is for now. We'll focus on developing the Blood Pavilion after the 3 Blood Tribe Holy Disciples return. And Lin was a little overwhelmed by Bryce's scorching gaze, and he continued, Bryce will be responsible for constructing a cultivation site for the Blood Tribe Mighty Figures. This will be a cultivation site that can accommodate 10 return to Void Stage Mighty Figures and 100 Soul Formation Stage Mighty Figures. Everyone else was dying to have spirit fruits, but this master was worried that his disciple would overeat himself. This was like picking up a treasure on a whim. Lin, a carefree smile appeared on the tree man's face at the mention of Bryce. It's all right, don't worry about me. I'll bask in the sun every day and be a peaceful old tree spirit. This feels so good. I feel like my entire body has been elevated to a higher level. And Lin pondered over his relationship with his 2 disciples. Why was it so dramatic? It was as if they had been gifted to him. I want to be a Blood Tribe cultivator with a goal. A green light suddenly appeared in the bored Bryce's eyes, and he abruptly stuck out his tongue to swallow the blood before trembling violently. Yi Ling was even more impressive. She had listened to a strange Taoist priest's fortune-telling, and she had attended the sect's grand opening celebration as a mortal. Only after experiencing a series of life and death trials was she able to reach the great perfection realm. And Lin was curious. Aren't you worried at all? It felt like things were developing in a different direction. And Lin and Yi Ling chatted about many things they had seen in the cultivation world, and this filled Yi Ling with yearning toward the unknown world, thereby drastically increasing her passion for cultivation. And Lin was also quite pleased with these results. He began to gather all of the pavilion lords to discuss the development of the sect, and Lin silently tossed a drop of blood toward Bryce. This was the responsibility of finance manager Xiao Zhe. He cleared his throat. Our sect currently has a mystic realm and a large mine with a total of 150 million spirit stones. There are 50 million spirit stones in circulation, which are mainly used for daily sect operations, cultivation resources, expansion, treasure hunting, and so on. And Lin couldn't help but stroke Yi Ling's little head at the sight of her obedient expression. Xiao Zhe was a primordial dragon tribe mighty figure at the pinnacle of the return to Void intermediate stage, so he was more than enough to be Yi Ling's teacher. And Lin wasn't in a hurry to have Yi Ling follow him around every day. And Lin cleared his throat. Let's take stock of the sect's assets first. I'll do anything for the sect, Bryce yelled before turning to Lin with a scorching light in his eyes. And Lin chatted about some daily life and cultivation matters before allowing his disciple to rest. A sharp expression appeared on Lin's face as he looked at everyone. Now, I have an extremely important announcement to make, which is that the Divine Mirror Enforcement Department will officially enter the trial phase. Xiaozhe made a very good summary during the meeting. After that, it was time for Bai Ling, the big sister in charge of human resources and education, to speak. Don't worry, I love arranging trials. A warm smile appeared on Bai Ling's face, but everyone's hearts jolted upon hearing this. Yiling, why don't you eat spirit fruits? Xiaozhe had silently given his entire family's fortune to him before shamelessly begging him to become his disciple. Yes, sect leader. Bryce was extremely enthusiastic and elated. After all, a second stage Tao body cultivator shouldn't ingest fruits that were too rich in energy. But you're not a plant. You're a blood tribe cultivator. And Lin cautioned. Anyone who heard this conversation would definitely be moved to the point of tears flowing down their faces. They would be gazing at him with eyes full of affection and even chloroplasts flowing from the corners of their lips. Why was he so passive and aloof from worldly affairs? No, the 4-9 Immortal sect couldn't tolerate such a lazy person. Over the past 3 months, his biggest gain was probably a large or vein. Other rewards included the spirit stones that Lin had received from the Celestial Court, as well as the spirit fruits and all types of rare materials that the other outer sect disciples had obtained. Chapter 990. Everyone turned to look at Tina with anticipation in their eyes. The Divine Mirror World was a world contained within Tina's eyes. From a certain perspective, this was a world that Tina had successfully fused with. She was the god of creation there, and she was the entire sky. This secret was only known to the few people that Lin trusted the most. All of the people present were people that he trusted the most, so they were naturally going to keep this a secret. The most powerful force in the 4-9 Immortal sect with the most potential was probably the Divine Mirror World. Tina cleared her throat. Our Divine Mirror World ambassador of the 2 realms, Wei Ji, has already announced the situation in this world to the Divine Mirror World. As of now, there are a total of 650 Spirit Nurturing Stage living beings and 42 Soul Formation Stage living beings who are willing to come to this world for missions. Everyone couldn't help but let loose cries of surprise upon hearing this. This was already an extremely powerful force that could serve as the backbone of the 4-9 Immortal sect. A smile appeared on Lin's face. The god of creation, Tina's god of creation dimension, was extremely alluring to the living beings in that world. Do you want the high-rank cultivation methods and treasures in the god of creation dimension? Then come to the Tai Chu continent and fight. The merit points you earn will be used to fulfill your dreams. Even though this world was filled with unknown dangers, there were still many powerful beings who were eager to join it. A smile appeared on Bai Ling's face. Very good. With these powerful beings, we can really get to work. Even though there were many outer sect disciples, they were still lacking in terms of power. With these powerful beings, the overall strength of the 4-9 Immortal sect would truly be on par with the 9 Imperials of the Kingdom of the 9 States. How can we ensure the loyalty of these people? Lu Qianhuan asked. This was a very practical problem. There were all kinds of birds in a big forest, and the Divine Mirror World was no exception. No problem. After they enter the God of Creation dimension, I'll mark their bodies with a punishment seal. Confidentiality agreements and oaths are mandatory. If they do anything that goes against the 4-9 Immortal sect, I'll activate the seal. Tina handed a document to Bai Ling as she spoke. Big Sister Bai, this is how you calculate the merit points. You just have to follow the methods stated in this document when you assign them to missions. Bai Ling's expression darkened slightly. You want me to do this? Tina stuck out her little tongue before flying over to Lin's shoulder and tugging on Lin's hair in an affectionate manner. I'm going to stay by Giant Lin's side, aren't I? Bai Ling pursed her lips and didn't say anything. All right, little Na will go and prepare for this. Lin made the final decision. After that, he made some decisions about other people's business. What was more concerning to Lin was that there was a small island that wanted to collaborate with the 4-9 Immortal sect. Springman. I feel like I've heard this name before. and Lin frowned and pondered. Suddenly, his eyes lit up, and he said decisively, accept this cooperation request. The aquatic products of the EC are also very precious resources. But, Sectmaster, the Dragon Court has been eyeing that island for a long time. Xiaoza couldn't help but remind him, and Lin was infuriated. Don't forget who's the best right now. Does the Dragon Court dare to compete with us? Don't forget that Green Island has always been an inseparable part of the 4-9 Immortal Sect. Xiaoza, no one had any objections, and they all accepted Lin's decision. A faint smile appeared on Lin's face. So was the tomb guardian of the Winter Dragon Tomb, Springman. He had given Xiaolan a pill refinement inheritance, so he would do him a favor. The meeting went on for 4 hours. The next morning, everyone gathered at the largest Dao Plaza in the Immortal Sect. They were all very nervous about Tina. In contrast, Tina was very calm and collected as she gnawed on a spirit fruit to replenish her energy. Her eyes shimmered with a white light that seemed to contain all things between heaven and earth, yet also seemed to contain nothingness and chaos. She clasped her hands together before separating them again, upon which a white halo of light suddenly appeared between her palms. Passageway between the two worlds opened. Spatial power fluctuations swept through the entire God's realm, enshrouding all of the living beings within. In the next instant, a few hundred figures appeared on the spacious dojo. They were all from different races, but all of them possessed extremely powerful auras. Lu Qianhuan and the white-scaled wolf god's mouths gaped open in astonishment as they stared at the scenes unfolding before them. Even though they were mentally prepared, they were still stunned by this scene. Not only were there humans here, but there were also Spirit Fish Clan, Heavenly Turtle Tribe, Dragon Tribe, Stone Tribe, Darkwing Tribe, Holy Martial Clan, Snake Spirit Clan, Vermilion Bird Tribe, True Demon Tribe. All of the most powerful tribes on the Tai Chu continent could be seen on this Dao Plaza. Is the Divine Mirror World this bad? *SS? How could there be so many different species of living beings here? Lu Qianhuan felt like her worldview had been completely shattered by this scene. Bai Ling nodded in response. She had seen many mystic realms and small worlds, but this was the first time she had ever seen such a special small world living being. The True Demon Tribe, living being at the forefront, half knelt to the ground with an excited expression. Little Demon Wei Ji and the warriors of the Divine Mirror World pay their respects to Goddess Tina. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Regardless of which tribe or cultivation base they were from, all of them half knelt to the ground and yelled in unison, "We pay our respects to Goddess Tina." In their hearts, Tina was the most powerful being in this world, and she was worthy of their respect. And Lin stared at the scenes unfolding before him with a hint of surprise on his face. It had to be said that Wei Ji had some skills. He taught them very well. As for all of the higher-ups of the 4-9 Immortal Sect, they had all been scared witless. They had never seen anything like this before. Tina, who was as adorable as a girl next door, the little fairy who was attached to Enlin, actually possessed such terrifying prestige among these living beings? No need for formalities. You may all rise. Tina's voice was a lot colder, and her emerald eyes were filled with authority and majesty. A goddess should have the aura of a goddess, and Tina was working hard to cultivate this aura. All of the powerful beings from the Divine Mirror World stood up and surveyed the world around them with curiosity and nervousness on their faces. This was the first time they had come to the Tai Chu continent. This was like an immortal paradise, and the extremely rich vital energy in the air made them extremely excited. Tina flew over to Bai Ling's side and continued, "Let me introduce to all of you my spokesperson, Bai Ling. She will be issuing missions from now on, and all of you just have to do your best. Every 6 months, you'll have a chance to return in exchange for a reward from a god. Of course, if you don't do a good job, I can replace you at any time." All of the powerful beings expressed their allegiance to their goddess. The Divine Mirror Division is about to take off. The white-scaled wolf god murmured to himself. "Humph. When the Three-Blood Tribe holy disciples return, the Divine Mirror Division will be nothing," Bryce retorted. He was extremely proud of himself right now. For the sake of Enlin's blood. Tui, he was willing to contribute to the 4-9 immortal sect and bring glory to the new blood tribe. Then, all of you follow spokesperson Bai Ling and do your best. God will be with you all, Tina said before leaving in a carefree manner like a shopkeeper who didn't need to do anything for them. All of the powerful beings wore scorching expressions on their faces as they made their vow with renewed vigor. They didn't know what Wei Ji had instilled in them, but they were like a bunch of fanatical worshippers, all of whom were spouting extremely bad *SS and inspirational words. Bai Ling rolled her eyes. Even though little Na had become a god of creation, she was still so lazy. Sigh. It's all because I'm so ambitious. I'm just a little tired. Bai Ling shot a glance at Enlin, and a warm smile appeared on her face. She didn't say anything else before making her way toward the divine mirror world powerful beings to make arrangements. Chapter 991. Let's go to the divine mirror world and take a look at the Void Spirit tribe, Enlin said. What's with his style of fighting before he even finished his sentence? Chu Nima. The fatso was on the verge of tears. Chu Nima, don't change my name, don't sit. And Lin finally understood this time, and he scolded, Isn't it good to live a good life? Why do you have to use such a hateful name? The Void Spirit tribe liked to eat consciousness, but there were different levels to this. For such a terrifying consciousness, they could only kneel down and call it daddy. This was a very strategic tribe, and Lin was very angry. The Void Spirit tribe powerful being before him was a spirit-nurturing stage powerful being, which basically represented the Void Spirit tribe's view of the world. Why do Void Spirit tribe powerful beings live in a place like this? Enlin's expression darkened. Don't worry, I'm not here to bully you. Enlin withdrew the power of his consciousness with a benevolent smile on his face. What's your name? An extremely terrifying might descended upon Enlin, as if he were a god from the heavens. Senior, Chu Nima, would be more than happy to accept an interview. It would be my honor. Chu Nima spoke with an extremely earnest and elated expression. Enlin silently released his consciousness. Enlin thought about it for a moment, and it did make sense. After all, it was hopping around and singing a demonic song of woo-la-la, woo-la-la. It really had nothing to do with cuteness. A void spirit tribe, living being with a huge head and sinister features passed by with a huge belly. It was singing a song that seemed to be quite powerful, but it was quite brainwashing and demonic. This is... And Lin stared at the scene before him with a hint of surprise on his face. He offered words of consolation. It's all right. I'm sure the other tribes will accept them as time passes. Tina thought back to what Wei Ji had done in the Divine Mirror world, and felt like Enlin's words made a lot of sense. She snapped her fingers. All right, we'll let Wei Ji do as he pleases. Tina, I feel like this is a bit ridiculous. After a moment of dizziness, Enlin arrived at an area where Yuan Qi was surging like a tide. Let's go interview this big head freak. Enlin's eyes lit up. Enlin cleared his throat. Ms. Chu Nima, I'm passing through this place, and I'm very curious about the customs of the Void Spirit tribe. Would you be willing to accept an interview? Wow, what a fresh and tender divine soul. I want it. And Lin and Tina wanted to make use of the Void Spirit tribe, living beings in the Divine Mirror world. Spare me. Boss, spare me. The Void Spirit tribe wasn't accepted by the other 10 tribes, and they weren't able to muster up any motivation to conquer other worlds. This was a very big problem. If things continued like this, the Void Spirit tribe might really become the Tai Chu continent's Void Spirit tribe. And Lin was furious. I'm asking you a question, and you're cursing at me? And Lin, the Void Spirit tribe in the Divine Mirror world has a dark history. I feel like it's going to be a little difficult to clear our name. Tina heaved a faint sigh. You think it's cute? And Lin asked in astonishment as he pointed at the soul spirit body of the fatso, which was still glowing with lightning. Was Chu Nima's parents' biological son? Did they have a death wish for their son to live too long? However, no matter how much he disliked it, Enlin couldn't force it to change its name, so he could only endure it. However, Never would you have thought that the Void Spirit Tribe would be so violent and insolent. Were all Void Spirit Tribe members this evil? After so many years on the Tai Chu continent, is there any tribe that likes the Void Spirit Tribe? Tina asked curiously. Sure. Tina nodded obediently as a white light flashed through her eyes. The fatso let loose a wail of anguish, and his body was almost pulverized by that palm. Chunima was very tired. He was waiting for an apology, but who would have thought that Enlin would throw the blame onto him? Boom! Woo la 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 la, ooh la 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 la. There was nothing wrong with Enlin calling it a big head pervert. The living beings on the Tai Chu continent were also aware of how powerful they were, but it was very difficult for them to cooperate. Enlin flipped the fatty over with another palm and sneered. I'll give you one last chance to answer my question. There will be no next time. Fatty screamed in fright and fell to the ground, shivering in fear. Okay, I can't answer that. The spatial power enshrouded Enlin and Tina. Chunima deliberated for a while before explaining her name word by word. As far as his eyes could see, the ground was pale white, and there were strangely shaped, twisted plants everywhere, swaying like kelp. The sky was brightly colored, and the air was whimpering, as if it was crying, but also as if it was laughing. Chunima was exhausted. Could he refuse? Obviously not. And Lin's eyes widened, and he immediately sent out a big slap. The fatty replied. I'm Chunima. The reason why they paid so much attention to the Void Spirit Tribe was because the Void Spirit Tribe existed in this world as spirit bodies and could carry out many special missions. For example, tracking, mining, passing through some special barriers, or even searching for naturally occurring mystic realms. All of these were very useful to them. And Lin flew toward the fatty. My friend from the Void Spirit Tribe. He racked his brain and came to a very pessimistic conclusion in the end. It seems like no other living beings like the Void Spirit Tribe. They're too special. Oi, is it really okay to talk about the adorable Void Spirit Tribe living beings like that? Tina was displeased. Splat. And Lin didn't even get a chance to finish his sentence before the fatso's eyes lit up, and he transformed into a bolt of blue lightning as he closed in on Enlin. At the same time, he opened his massive mouth to bite down on Enlin. Enlin replied with a serious expression. Trust me, as long as Wei Ji says it, the entire world will believe him. Tina cocked her head to the side. Ow! Tina sat on Enlin's shoulder and swung her pristine, jade-like legs with a sympathetic expression. Because no one wants to play with them. They've always been the antagonists, and even though they've developed intelligence now, the other 10 tribes are still very hostile toward them. No one wants to get close to them. Tina, why didn't the Void Spirit Tribe come? How about we let Wei Ji try? Enlin was very optimistic about this true demon tribe prodigy. This humanoid fatty spirit body not only had a very large stomach, but his head was also very large. Beside him, a slender woman with exquisite features pouted. How would I know? The Void Spirit Tribe transformed their tribe into this environment, and they're having a lot of fun. Maybe it's just the aesthetics of spirit bodies, but our aesthetics are different? Enlin blushed involuntarily. This situation seemed to have something to do with them? Enlin asked with a curious expression. The Devouring Spirit Tribe had officially changed their name to the Void Spirit Tribe, so it was all the same anyway. Enlin's lips twitched slightly. Even though he knew Chunima's name, her words still sounded a little weird, and he wanted to beat her up. Tell him to spread the word that the Void Spirit Tribe is a living being that exists in that world to test the 10 tribes. They're not the representatives of evil, but the representatives of progress. And Lin instructed, not only were they crazy, but they were also very crazy, as if they had lost their minds. No one would like them unless they were the same species. Tina, slap. Chapter 992. This was definitely a suicidal proposition. And Lin patted Chunima's body with a smile. That's enough. I know what you want to say. All you have to do now is stay true to your heart. Perhaps you'll meet someone in the future, someone who can truly change your fate. When that time comes, you can make your own decision. What a F*** king perfunctory answer. A conflicted expression appeared on his face as he clutched his head tightly. We have no choice but to comply with God's request. But we can't go against the will of our ancestors. It's so hard to choose. This. Chunima stared blankly at the white-robed man before it. Chunima was going against the grain, saying something so bad *SS in front of the God who created this world. Wasn't that the same as lighting a lamp in the toilet? A warm smile appeared on Chunima's face as it floated around in Lin. That's right. Anyone who could say something like this was definitely no ordinary being. My dear Chunima, I understand what you're thinking. Our interview ends here. Chunima's expression faltered upon hearing this. It was clearly not expecting this kind of question. It's a revelation that will allow you to abandon your old identities and start anew. It's a revelation that will allow you to reintegrate into this world, Tina said in an extremely pleasant voice. Then, Senior, what do you want to ask? I want to hear the truth. If you lie, I'll kill you. Do you think there's a need for the Void Spirit tribe to establish good relations with the highly intelligent living beings of this world? And Lin enunciated each word as killing intent erupted from his body. Chunima clutched its head with its hands, and its blue body expanded and contracted as if it were on the verge of collapse. And Lin coughed lightly before speaking in a meaningful and heartfelt voice. We're all highly intelligent living beings of this world, so we should love one another, right? Chunima replied with conviction. I know the Void Spirit tribe has a very difficult life. Not being acknowledged by the living beings of this world must be very frustrating, right? And Lin heaved a faint sigh with a hint of sympathy in his voice. Chunima turned to look at Lin with a dazed expression. It didn't know why it was so excited, but it was as if it had reached some kind of decision. What revelation? Chunima was confused. And Lin and Tina looked at each other in bewilderment. Chunima paused and replied, My surname is Chu. It seemed that this problem was more difficult than he had imagined. This was a problem left behind by history. And Lin nodded. Looks like we'll have to leave this to Wiki. If the Void Spirit tribe succeeded in conquering their territory, they would lose all of their soldiers. F***CK. Can't we talk properly? It's over. Because I don't think there's a need to build a good relationship with the ingredients. Hey, don't be nervous. I'm just asking. And Lin held onto Tina's little hand and disappeared from this world as he stepped on a cloud. Tina, yes. We should love each other and build a beautiful and happy home. Chunima raised her chubby hands and nodded in agreement. Yes. And Lin nodded. He added, I have a tool to detect if you're lying, so I hope you'll behave yourself. Chunima was on the verge of tears from that terrifying, murderous aura. And Lin hurriedly consoled the fatso before him. All of a sudden, he felt like the man before him was extremely unfathomable, as if he were a mighty figure who had transcended beyond this world and could even see through the mysteries of the future. Tina spoke in a quiet voice. This is a conflict between my orders, and the Void Spirit tribe is caught in a dilemma. The Void Spirit tribe is a highly intelligent life form created by me and this world together. If I forcefully interfere with their will, I'm afraid this entire race will be destroyed. What? Why do we have to be acknowledged by the living beings of this world? Aren't all of the living beings of this world high-grade ingredients for us? Why do we have to be acknowledged by the ingredients? Chunima was perplexed. Besides, we are spirit bodies, but the other 10 tribes are not. Doesn't that prove that we're not the same as them? Our mission is to wipe out the other 10 tribes. And Lin held Tina back and changed the subject with a smile. So what do you think about God's messenger and Lin descending upon this world to gather powerful beings to conquer this world? Why didn't the Void Spirit tribe respond to God's messenger's call? Chunima, times have changed, and we have to change our mindset. And Lin spoke in a meaningful and heartfelt voice. You've all evolved and become different from before. Perhaps this evolution is a sign from the heavens? This was clearly a human mighty figure. F***CK. He would be killed if he lied, but he would also be cut down if he spoke the truth. And Chunima surreptitiously observed Lin's expression to find that Lin didn't seem to be angry, so she continued. The big-headed pervert Chunima was left standing rooted to the spot, staring blankly at the direction Lin had left in. She didn't know what she had just come to. Chunima turned toward Tina. And who are you? You say this is a sign from the heavens. So, what does that mean it's a sign from the heavens? Who do you think you are to represent the heavens? Tina nodded in agreement. We can only let him brainwash us. Chunima's body shuddered. He had just referred to other living beings as food ingredients in front of this human. Chunima burst into tears. Senior, what I just said doesn't represent my true thoughts. I just want to, what do we do? Should we follow God's orders or carry out the wishes of our ancestors first? Chunima half knelt to the ground, and her mind was clearly extremely unstable. If they wanted to change the deep-rooted beliefs of the Void Spirit tribe, they couldn't think of any other way aside from brainwashing. Lin thought about it for a moment before asking, Are you happy? Chunima stared at Lin with a blank expression, as if she was mulling over something. Tina gritted her teeth in rage. Was this King freak tired of living? I'm the god who created this world, and I was the one who created it. Who do you think I am? We are all highly intelligent beings like the other 10 tribes, but ever since the creation of this world, we've been tasked with the mission of devouring all of the highly intelligent beings in this world. This mission has been passed down through generations, and we can't forget our ancestors. We have to carry on this fine tradition. And Lin was also astonished. They had to change their beliefs. Chunima raised his arms and yelled, We must first deal with internal strife. We must eliminate all of the high-grade living beings in this world before responding to spokesperson Lin's call. What if the god of this world asks you to coexist peacefully with the other 10 tribes and invade this world? Lin asked again. Lin patted Chunima's shoulder and injected his divine sense into it to calm it down. Chapter 993. Lin left with a smug expression on his face. He felt like his final performance was quite good. He had come and gone like the wind, and he would definitely be able to leave a deep impression in Chunima's heart. Sigh, the Void Spirit tribe sure is troublesome. Tina's brows furrowed as she heaved a faint sigh. There's still a long way to go. We're not in a hurry. Lin wore a nonchalant expression. A thought suddenly occurred to him. By the way, little Na, how are all of the tribes doing? Tina pondered for a moment before replying. All of the tribes are developing normally. The Holy Martial clan still likes to research battle techniques. The Dragon tribe still likes to search for treasures all over the world, and the Vermilion Bird tribe still likes to let fate take its course. It's just that there's been some disagreement within the human race. What disagreement? Lin asked. The human race has already established 5 nations, and the higher-ups of each nation are divided on whether to allocate resources to cultivation or to science, Tina explained. That's why there's a huge debate going on. That's the difference between the human race and the other races. Lin smiled. If it were any other race, they would definitely choose to invest their resources into cultivation, as that would allow them to improve their cultivation bases. Was there anything more practical than becoming more powerful? However, the human race was different. They were aware of the importance of science, and they were investing their resources into science. Even though it wouldn't benefit them directly, it would benefit the human race in the future. Let them worry about it. Let's not interfere. Lin smiled. Tina nodded. I'm looking forward to the human civilization here. It's going to be as prosperous as the human civilization in Giant and Lin's homeland. It's going to be fun. It won't be long. You'll be able to witness Earth's splendor here in a decade or even a century, and Lin replied. Tina pursed her lips. That's a long time. 10 years. Even if I use time acceleration, it'll still take a lot of time. Take your time. And Lin patted Tina's head. Come on, let's go to the human territory. Tina held on to Lin's hand and stepped forward. The space around them instantly warped, and they arrived in the air above the most prosperous human city in less than a second. And Lin looked at the scene below and clicked his tongue in wonder. How prosperous! Below, there were tall buildings and endless streams of cars. Although most of them were relatively simple and unadorned reinforced concrete buildings, There were also super tall buildings that were hundreds of meters tall, and the top was still shining with dazzling light. The vehicle was a thermal vehicle with elemental energy fusion, which could last longer. Here, ordinary humans and cultivators coexisted in harmony, and many even became good friends with each other. They all obeyed the decree issued by Adam and Eve that all living beings were equal under God, and cultivators were not allowed to use force to harm mortals for no reason. The Kingdom of the Nine States also had a similar law, but cultivators basically didn't interact with mortals. Even if they appeared in some prosperous places, they would still act like they were above mortals. Here, the atmosphere was completely different. Many cultivators really made friends with mortals. They ate together, chatted, danced together, and played games together. Perhaps their pursuits were different, but in their spare time, they could still play together. Looks good. However, why do I get the feeling that these cultivators are somewhat depraved? Unlin said, a speechless look on his face. These cultivators had way too many entertainment options. Didn't they need to cultivate? He unleashed his divine sense to encompass the entire city, and he could sense that there were a total of 50,000 cultivators in this city, but there was only one soul formation stage cultivator. There are way too few top-rate cultivators. Unlin was a little perplexed. Even the human cultivators who had gone to the 4-9 Immortal sect were all spirit-nurturing stage cultivators. In terms of top-rate cultivators, there seemed to be a huge disparity between the human race and the other highly intelligent races. Perhaps there are too many things to play with, and that's distracting them from their passion for cultivation. Tina stuck out her tongue sheepishly. Unlin was speechless. Is this what it means to have too many things to play with? Is there really no problem? There should be no problem, Tina replied. Unlin's expression darkened. Boy, little Na, you're a god of creation. What's with that tone of uncertainty? Can you be a little more reliable? Don't worry, I don't think there will be any problems. Tina clearly didn't know whether this would work or not, but she couldn't force the cultivators to stop playing with other things. The two of them explored the divine mirror world before returning to the Tai Chu continent. And Lin found Wei Ji and gave him a new mission as a god spokesperson. Wiki accepted the mission with high spirits. To be honest, he was willing to do anything as long as he could serve Goddess Tina. If all of the divine mirror world powerful beings here were fanatics, then Wei Ji was a super fanatic who was several times more fanatical than any fanatic. Without this kind of passion and charisma, how could he move others? This was like some extremely powerful swindlers who had to lie to themselves before they could lie to others. Only then would they have enough charisma, and charisma, all of them were the same. The only difference was that this Wei Ji had the protection of a god of creation. Late at night, and Lin returned to his cave abode. He strolled along the bluestone path, only to notice a black figure sitting on a rock. Even in the darkness of the night, he was unable to ignore this black figure. The black figure's eyes were simply too bright, almost as if they were about to emit light. And Lin made his way over to him and patted his shoulder with a curious expression. What are you doing, Xiao Cho? Thinking about your life? That's right, the black figure sitting on the rock was Xiao Cho. And Lin had often seen Xiao Cho sitting on a rock in a daze, but he had never seen Xiao Cho sitting with his legs crossed and looking up at the starry sky with such a melancholic expression on his face. His freckled features were scrunched up slightly, and his crooked lips were puckered up into a pout, as if he were feeling aggrieved and depressed at the same time. And Lin looked at Xiao Chao's peculiar appearance. Even though a child couldn't find his mother ugly and a master couldn't find his pet ugly, he still couldn't help but feel a stinging sensation in his eyes. He silently turned his gaze toward the starry sky in the distance and fell into deep thought. Big brother and I've fallen out of love. Tears suddenly welled up in Xiao Chao's eyes, and there was a hint of sobbing in his voice. Gasp! And Lin's eyes widened in shock. What kind of explosive news was this? He abruptly turned to look at Xiao Cho before silently averting his gaze as if he had been dealt a heavy blow. Ahem, Xiao Cho, tell me what's going on. When had Xiao Cho ever fallen in love? And Lin really didn't know. Instead, he had waited for Xiao Cho to fall out of love before asking about it. With this in mind, Enlin couldn't help but blush with embarrassment. Xiao Qiu turned his gaze toward the starry sky with grief and reluctance in his eyes. This is what happened. Chapter 994. Big Brother. When I was still a little monkey in the Myriad Mountain realm, I wasn't that ugly back then. On the contrary, I was a little cute, Xiao Qiu said. And Lin asked, was it like when you shrunk? Xiao Qiu faltered slightly upon hearing this before nodding. And Lin understood now. Actually, Xiao Qiu was also ugly back then, but he was too small, so his ugliness wasn't obvious. This was just like how humans were cute when they were young. But as they grew up, they were able to let go of themselves, and the difference became apparent. And then, Lin asked. Xiao Qiu spoke slowly. One day, when I was picking fruits on the mountain, I was attacked by a Black Panther mutant beast. Even though I had an innate spirit body, I was still very young at the time, so I was no match for the Black Panther. I was soon severely injured by the Black Panther's claws. Just when I thought that I was going to become the Black Panther's meal, a white figure sprang out. And Lin's expression shifted. He knew that the female lead was about to appear. A reminiscent expression appeared on Xiao Qiu's face. She was so holy, so beautiful, with 6 pristine white tails and a pair of eyes as bright as the stars. She swallowed the Black Panther with a single bite. And Lin, speaking of which, why was this different from what he had imagined? And Lin tried his best to regain his composure. And then, how did you two fall in love? Fall in love? Xiao Qiu blinked. Why would I fall in love with her? And Lin, then why are you talking about her? Xiao Qiu smiled. Because she was the mother of the little white fox that I liked. And Lin's mouth gaped open. This was a King mother-in-law. He had thought that this was going to be a beauty saving the hero, but it turned out to be a mother-in-law saving her son-in-law. Why was this completely different from what he had imagined? And then, Lin calmed himself down before continuing. Xiao Qiu continued, the little white fox's mother, Bai Mu Yu, saw that I was severely injured, so she took me to their place for treatment. She even asked me if I'd seen a blue ice flower that was burning with flames. The reason why they appeared there was because they were looking for that strange blue ice flower. Of course, I didn't know about those ice flowers. I became friends with the little white fox, Bai Yao, while I was recovering from my injuries. Bai Yao was very curious about everything in the Myriad Mountain realm, and she was constantly asking questions. To my savior, I am naturally happy to tell her everything I know. Perhaps my fate with her began while she was telling me stories. She's cute and obedient, and she's very kind. We were looking for fruits to eat in the forest. Whenever she found a fruit, she would share half with me. When we encountered small wild beasts, she would block in front of me, even though she was stronger than me. At that time, I silently swore that when I became stronger, I would definitely protect her. The clown sighed with emotion and looked at the starry sky. It seemed that he could still see the smiling face of the little white fox. And Lin smacked his lips. Childhood sweethearts. What happened next? His interest had already been piqued. He wanted to know how Bai Yao and Xiao Qiu had fallen in love, and what had they gone through to make Xiao Qiu sit alone on a rock and look up at the starry sky with a heartbroken expression. After that, the clown heaved a forlorn sigh. After that, her mother found the flaming blue ice flower, and she left the Myriad Mountain realm with Bai Yao, and I parted ways with her, and Lin's eyes widened. Did you forget something? That's it. That's right. That's the gist of what happened. The clown nodded as a hideous smile appeared on his face. How about it? It's a very simple, pure, and beautiful story, isn't it? And Lin, simple? Beautiful? You're telling a King love story? Why do I feel like I'm not listening to this story at all? Why is this completely different from what I was expecting? Even though Lin was grumbling internally, he still put on a caring big brother expression on his face. You and Bai Yao fell in love just like that? Did you play any role in obtaining the flaming blue ice flower? Did you do anything special to improve your relationship with her? How did you two confirm your relationship with each other? A dejected expression appeared on the clown's face. The flaming blue ice flower is clearly no ordinary item. Where would I have had the opportunity to come into contact with something of that caliber? And Lynn thought about it for a moment and realized that this was indeed the case. This was the most realistic development. After all, he wasn't the son of the heavens. My relationship with Bai Yao was very simple and pure. As for how we confirmed our relationship, she gave me a handful of fox fur before we parted ways, and I gave her a handful of monkey fur as a gift. As long as we're within 5 kilometers of each other, we can sense each other. Isn't that equivalent to an exchange of tokens of love? Our love is so reserved, restrained, patient, and restrained. A dejected expression appeared on the clown's face as tears welled up in his eyes, and Lynn couldn't help but draw a sharp intake of breath. She was being reserved and restrained. What was going on in the clown's head? Did they really fall in love? It didn't look like it. Wasn't this a little like the clown was imagining things? Perhaps the little white fox only saw him as a good friend, and Lynn was feeling a little sympathetic toward the clown. Never would he have thought that the clown would be so fond of imagining things. He should have discovered this a long time ago. After all, the clown seemed to have also been imagining things a few years ago. The clown was a very emotional monkey, and Lynn didn't dare to imagine anything about the clown's love life anymore, because he felt that his imagination had never been right even once. He asked with curiosity, "What happened after that? Did anything happen between the two of you?" The clown, after that, Bai Yao returned to her hometown, the creation realm, and we didn't meet again until recently. And Lynn, was this what it meant by nothing had happened after that? The clown couldn't forget her even now. Couldn't he just find a female monkey? Why did he have to place his love on a vixen? The clown continued, "I became an elder of the 4-9 Immortal sect, and as the 4-9 Immortal sect became more and more renowned, my existence became known to many people, including Bai Yao." And Lin's eyes lit up. Was this a sign that the girl had discovered that the guy had become a successful career man, and she was finally tempted to contact him? And then, after that, Bai Yao sent me a letter. She told me that she was going to marry the young master of the Fox tribe, the Black Fox Emperor, in 10 days, and she hoped that I would be able to attend her wedding. The clown's tears began to flow again as he spoke, and Lin's mouth gaped open. What the F***CK? Why was this so different from what he had imagined? However, this made sense after thinking about it. His first love was marrying someone else, and that was the only reason why the clown would be so sad. And Lin felt bad for the clown. Perhaps the little white fox had never liked him. So why was he so sad? Was he asking for trouble? He couldn't tell the clown what he was thinking. The clown most likely wouldn't believe him. Even if he did, wouldn't he be even sadder? He was like an idiot who had loved a girl who didn't love him for so long. Wouldn't that be even more of a psychological blow? It's all right, clown. You've lost a fox, but you still have a vast forest. And Lin offered words of consolation. But I don't like forests, the clown retorted in a firm voice. And Lin, I've already made up my mind. I'm going to the creation realm tomorrow to attend Bai Yao's wedding. The clown took a deep breath before speaking with a determined expression, and Lin faltered momentarily before nodding with difficulty. That's a good idea. I'll give them my blessings and say goodbye to their past. That way, they'll be able to grow up better. Who says I'm going to give them my blessings? Bai Yao must have been forced into this. I'm going to save her. The clown's battle intent surged as he spoke in a firm voice. And Lin, Chapter 995. The first thing Lin and the others did upon arriving at Qing, whose city, was to take a deep breath. The second thing they did was to stare at all the living beings around them with wide eyes. The four of them arrived at one of the 10 main cities of the creation realm, Qing, whose city. And Lin and Dabai felt as if they had fallen into a sea of flowers. They were completely unable to tear their eyes away from the scenery before them. And Lin fell into a state of self-blame. Perhaps he really hadn't interacted with Xiao Cho enough to keep up with Xiao Chao's train of thought. After that, I'll go with you, and Lin suddenly said, Holy F***CK. This place is heaven. And Lin was astonished. Have you really decided, Xiao Cho? Are we going to the creation realm tomorrow? If this continued, was this going to devolve into a marriage kidnapping? I thought you were going to scold me, but who would have thought that you would be so supportive? Tina was also intoxicated. Tina also wore an intoxicated expression. What a strange feeling. I feel like even the air here is sweet. Xiao Chow's heart jolted as he stared blankly at Enlin. Tears welled up in his eyes again. He had also given Xiao Chou instructions in advance. Investigate all aspects of this tribe and analyze the potential dangers before making a decision. It's safer that way. Enlin was filled with deep veneration. The main city of the creation realm was naturally Fortune City. That was the headquarters of the Hall of Creation. Xiao Chou looked forward. He liked to look at the adorable little white fox. Enlin smiled. My big brother monkey is going to do something as exciting as devolving into a marriage kidnapping. As his brother, how could I not assist him? In that instant, Enlin was struck by a sense of loneliness and desolation. That's right, this was a place where anything could become sentient. This was the creation realm. I'll approve it. Xiaozhe continued to stay at the sect in case any unexpected situations arose. The Fox tribe was a very intelligent tribe, and they were like fish in water in the creation realm. They gradually developed and became one of the 10 major powers in the creation realm, and they occupied one of the main cities, Qinghu City. All right. How old are you? Don't cry so easily. Under the moonlight, the two hugging figures were so harmonious. The field of creation could be summarized in one sentence. This wasn't because Tina worshipped foreign things. The air here really did have a strange, refreshing feeling. If it was a little more serious, wouldn't they be directly smacked to death by the Fox Clan's supreme being? The Kingdom of the Nine States had a friendly diplomatic relationship with the Hall of Creation, so Enlin and the others could teleport directly to the core region of the Hall of Creation. How could Dubai miss out on such an exciting event? What powerful lethality. I've lost, woof. Dubai admitted defeat. Tina rolled her eyes and scolded, Pervert. It's our first time here. I suggest we stay here and observe for a while. The clown also sighed with emotion. It said that the creation divine realm is #1 on the Spirit Aura continent, and it looks like it really lives up to its name. Even the air is filled with Spirit Aura. One after another, enchanting women shuttled back and forth in the vicinity. If the clown were to discover the truth, wouldn't he have a mental breakdown? Dubai's nose was quite sensitive, and he couldn't stop inhaling the air. He even forgot to speak. Enlin swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. All right, they had arrived at the final destination of their journey to the west. This was a peaceful night. Enlin thought to himself, if cursing was going to work, he would have cursed them a long time ago. Enlin sucked in a deep breath as a sense of comfort washed over his entire body. They had voluptuous breasts, slender waists, and a pair of sexy long legs. Their fox tails swayed from side to side as if they were capable of seducing one's soul, and they were all dressed in extremely vibrant clothing. The clown became more and more excited as he spoke, and large tears began to roll down his face. Jine and Lin, let's hurry up and get down to business. Tina was almost drooling at the sight of Enlin, and Dubai's nose was bleeding. They were extremely embarrassed and wanted to leave this place. Enlin, Dubai, and Tina nodded in agreement. After inhaling a deep breath of air, the air flowed into the lungs and spread to the rest of the body before clearing up the meridians. It was as if the air was massaging the entire body, and it was extremely soothing. The clown spread open his arms and gave Enlin a bear hug. Thus, Enlin, Tina, the clown, and Dubai embarked on their journey to the west, after a period of dizziness. The next day, Enlin walked out of his room in high spirits. The Hall of Creation was located in the southwestern region of the Taichu continent. The white fox stuck out her little tongue before leaving with a seductive smile on her face like a victorious general. At the same time, it was located in the northwestern region of the southern Heavenly Wing Nation, which was located in the southernmost part of the continent. Not for anything else, but because this was the Fox clan's main camp. This was a feeling of loneliness and helplessness that he had carefully built up. Tina, however, and Lin and the others went directly to Qinghu City. Thank you, big brother. And Lin thought about it for a moment and decided that it would be better to bring his supreme steed with him. So he agreed. The clown harumphed coldly. How can those be asterisk cheese compared to my Bai Yao? Her fur is as pristine white as snow. Her eyes are bright and clear, and her figure is impeccable. After hearing about what had happened to Xiao Zhe, Dabai immediately made his way to the 4-9 Immortal Sect to visit Xiao Zhe. But after hearing about what had happened to Xiao Chou, he immediately begged Enlin to take him with him. Enlin immediately turned her down with a straight face. No, Dabai raised a paw. Big brother and is absolutely right. I agree. Woof. Enlin and the others appeared in the teleportation spell formation at Qinghu City. Enlin patted the clown's back in consolation. Tina chose to continue to follow Enlin in order to broaden her horizons. The clown, isn't your Bai Yao a white fox as well? Is she this powerful as well? Enlin couldn't help but ask. That feels so good. He sighed with emotion. A long silence ensued. No, he had to be stopped. Bai Yao clearly viewed the clown as a friend, so perhaps they were in love with each other after marrying the black fox. Huh? Xiao Chou faltered slightly before averting his gaze from the night sky to look at Enlin in surprise. This was a place blessed by the heavens, and it was the largest blessed land on the entire continent. There was enough spiritual energy here that most things could attain sentience. All types of animals, plants, even rocks, flames, water, and lightning could attain sentience. Whoosh, whoosh. Dabai wished he could grow a few more eyes, and his eyes glowed with a green light. Heaven. This is heaven on earth. As expected, this was completely different from what he had imagined. I've decided, big brotherin, I'm going to apply for leave from you. A white fox who was passing by Enlin and the others noticed Enlin and Dabai's scorching gazes, and a light chuckle escaped her lips as she puffed out her voluptuous chest and blinked seductively at Enlin and Dabai before speaking in a seductive voice. Enlin turned toward the clown to discover that he was sitting on a rock with his bulb-like eyes looking toward the west with the countless stars reflected in his pupils. Enlin rolled his eyes. Beauty was in the eye of the beholder. He shouldn't have asked the clown such a stupid question. Gasp! Dabai felt as if he had been severely wounded, and blood slowly flowed from his nose. This was a divine creation. They felt like even the air here was about to attain sentience. Chapter 996. You two just want to look at beauties here, right? Tina huffed, and Lin replied with a serious expression. Please don't doubt my work ethic. I'm only here to observe the characteristics of the fox tribe. Only by truly understanding your enemies can you defeat them. Woof. Dabai interjected. The clown felt like this was reasonable. All right, this is my first time coming to the main city of the fox tribe, so I'll accompany you for a while. Enlin and Dabai both whooped with glee upon receiving the clown's approval. Tina was a little exasperated as she floated over to Enlin's side and wanted to sit on his shoulder like she usually did, but she floated away with a disdainful expression after seeing how he was staring at the vixens on the street. Most of the living beings on the street were from the fox tribe. The fox tribe was a race that yearned for the beauty of humans, and their sense of beauty was surprisingly similar to that of humans. They usually had two forms. One was a fox form, while the other was a human form, and they prefer the human form. Thus, they usually appeared in their human form when they were outside. Most of the male fox tribe foxes were quite handsome, while the female fox tribe foxes were mostly seductive and seductive. Of course, there were also some who chose the pure and holy path, but the ratio was quite small. This was perhaps due to the fact that the fox tribe was quite open-minded. Look at that asterisk SS. Tui, what a perky tail. We have to be careful. There might be some sort of lethal weapon hidden under that fur. Big brotherin, look at that red fox. She has such a fierce chest. We have to be careful of a fox like her hiding a lethal weapon in her chest. Woof. Gasp. Dabai is right. The human and dog were extremely excited as they stared at the passing fox tribe foxes. The clown didn't know what they were excited about. Were big breasts and big, but very attractive? The little white fox's fox form was clearly the most attractive, and in terms of appearance, Tina was the most perfect. However, Enlin and Dabai were extremely excited about the wildflowers outside, which the clown found very difficult to understand. After a while more, the clown finally couldn't help but ask, Big brotherin, are these foxes really that good-looking? Why do I feel like none of the foxes passing by here are as good-looking as Little Na? Tina was extremely excited. The heavens had eyes. There was finally someone who wasn't blind. I'm such a delicate little elf. Yet you don't go and appreciate them, and instead go and look at those vixens. Unexpectedly, when Lin and Dubai heard this, they shook their heads at the same time. They smiled like experienced drivers and explained earnestly. Clown, you don't understand. To appreciate beauty, you don't just look at the appearance. You also have to look at the temperament. And Lin said very seriously. Tina placed her hands on her hips and pouted. Is my temperament not good enough? No. Little Na has a very good temperament. But, and Lin changed the topic. Your temperament is a holy and inviolable beauty. Your beauty is impeccable. You can look at it from afar, but you can't play with it. As for the beauty of the Fox clan, and Lin suddenly laughed. Dubai continued. The beauty of the fox race is mostly a beauty that seduces one's soul. It is emitted from the inside out. Quickly come on, my beauty. Woof. Tina's face convulsed slightly. Clown paused for a few seconds before suddenly speaking. So that's why you're here. You want to see beautiful women on the streets. And Lin, Dubai, it's over. We've been tricked. And Lin and Dubai were both very angry. We were seriously discussing aesthetics with you, but you mercilessly exposed us. Ahem. We finished studying the appearance of the Fox clan. Let's go into Qinghu City now to gather some information. And Lin cleared his throat before taking the initiative to speak. Thus, a human, a dog, a monkey, and a fairy began their journey into Qinghu City. The buildings in Qinghu City were all very antiquated. Most of them were constructed from wood, and most of them exuded a sense of natural harmony. There were many shops along the streets, and most of the things being sold were very spiritual. Some were spirit fruits, some were spirit nurturing essence, and there were even all types of spirit beast eggs. And Lin had seen all kinds of treasures in his life. Even though there were many interesting items on the street, he was a little bored after a quick glance at them. He then turned his attention back to the fox race cultivators on the street. He felt like he had made a huge profit on this trip. After all, he was very happy to be able to see a bunch of beauties. Tui, to be able to help Clown. Perhaps it was because he was quite handsome, but he soon received seductive glances from over a dozen fox race beauties, and one of them even stuck out her tongue. This was intense and exciting. This was a perilous situation. Dubai was quite displeased. Why do all of those vixens like to lay their hands on you? Are they looking down on me, Dubai? Woof. A smug smile appeared on Lin's face. It's all because I'm more handsome, more powerful, richer, more outstanding, and more perfect than you. Dubai, the fox race was more interested in human beauty, so handsome men like Lin were naturally more popular. Along the way, aside from all kinds of specialty shops, there were also many chicken and duck shops. The decorations of the chicken shop were especially eye-catching. Many beautiful and sexy young ladies were standing outside the door, and they looked extremely flirtatious as they passionately solicited the passers-by. Many men who couldn't hold themselves back walked into the chicken shops with flushed faces, most likely wanting to have a taste of the beauties. Dubai wanted to eat chicken, but he was stopped by Lin. Are you crazy? Clown and Little Na are still here. And Lin roared angrily. We can split up. I'll go in and scout out the enemy. Woof. Dubai was extremely excited. And Lin, he couldn't be bothered to waste words with Dubai, so he dragged this perverted dog along with him as he continued onward. There were also many duck shops here, and there were many handsome men posing outside the doors. Even though they didn't say anything, they didn't need to say anything. Some of the women and men couldn't help but step into the shops with flushed faces. The quality of the duck here was quite good, and they wanted to try it. And Lin and Dubai had no interest in eating duck, and they left with disdainful expressions. In any case, the chicken and duck industry here was very developed. Many humans, Dragon Tribe, Lightwing Clan, Darkwing Clan, and other large tribes came here just to see if the chicken and duck were delicious. As such, it could be said that this industry was one of the main industries of Qinghu City. As Lin was enjoying the scenery, he didn't forget to unleash his divine sense to detect the cultivation bases of the fox race cultivators. Along the way, he scanned over 10,000 fox race cultivators with his divine sense, and he discovered that there were 7 soul formation stage fox race cultivators among them. This was an extremely frightening ratio. Could it be because the banquet was imminent? Within an immortal spirit fruit shop, Lin and the others were gathered around a table, enjoying delicious fruits. All of the fruits that grew in the territory of the fox race were extremely fragrant, and it was very easy to become addicted to them. Normal living beings wouldn't be able to stop eating, and there were many who went bankrupt. This was also one of the main industries of Qing Hu City, the fruit banquet. Even though they knew that it was very easy to become addicted to the fruit, there were still many living beings who were unable to repress their curiosity, and they felt that they had great willpower and wanted to try the fruit. However, they ended up losing everything before they knew it. There was no lack of such people in this world. Some of them thought that they weren't such people, and they pounced on the fruit without any hesitation, only to fall into the abyss. Lin couldn't stop eating the fruits from the fox race's territory either. They were simply too delicious. The juices were like a pair of agile hands, teasing his tongue and body. It was so satisfying that he wanted to continue. Right at this moment, a voice from a neighboring seat made him slow down. Did you hear? The young master of our Black Saber sect has also received an invitation to the wedding. I'm so envious. I want to attend the wedding of the century of the fox race as well. You? Don't even think about it. You don't have that status, so you won't be able to receive an invitation. If you want to attend, you'll have to be a follower of some important figure. Chapter 997. The Wedding of the Century? And Lin immediately knew whose wedding they were referring to. However, they didn't have invitations. What should they do? If the security at the wedding was a little lax, then they could sneak in. However, if the security was extremely tight, then there was still a risk of being discovered. It would be best if they had an invitation so that they could sneak in openly. Should they steal one? And Lin's eyes flashed. He actually didn't approve of Xiao Cho crashing a wedding. That would be tantamount to suicide. The Fox tribe was not a small tribe. Even though they didn't have any Dao integration stage super mighty figures, they had 6 return to void final stage mighty figures among their ranks. Lin and the others had almost no chance of winning against the entire Fox tribe. And Lin had also tried to persuade Xiao Cho to let go and bid farewell to his past during the wedding. In order not to provoke Xiao Cho, he didn't point out that Bai Yao's feelings for him weren't love. Instead, he told him that many things would change as time passed, including some emotions. In the mortal world, there's a 90% chance of a long-distance relationship breaking up within 2 years. You've been with Bai Yao for close to 100 years. Do you really think her feelings for you won't fade away? No, I'm different from Bai Yao. Bai Yao must have been forced into this. That's right. Xiao Cho was like a stubborn person. He stubbornly believed that things were as perfect as he imagined them to be. However, Xiao Cho also promised that he wouldn't do anything rash in order to play it safe. Instead, he would act according to the situation. At this moment, the Fox tribe cultivators at the neighboring table began to speak again. Hey, apparently Princess Bai Yao doesn't want to marry young Master Chen Nan. It looks like there's more to this wedding than meets the eye, one of the Fox tribe cultivators whispered. Xiao Chao's eyes lit up, and Lin drew a sharp intake of breath. F***CK. Could it be that Xiao Cho was right? Bai Yao was forced into this. Hee. You're always talking about conspiracy theories. Are you sick of it? Princess Bai Yao is the most beautiful woman among the younger generation of our Fox tribe and the most dazzling star of the White Fox tribe. Young Lord Chen Nan is the only son of the Black Fox Emperor and the most powerful person among the younger generation of the Black Fox Emperor. The two of them are publicly acknowledged by the Fox clan to be a perfect match made in heaven. Do you think an ugly person like you has the right to question or object? The other Fox clan member retorted mercilessly. The clown's bright eyes gradually dimmed. The male fox demon who was scolded became angry and said angrily, Am I ugly? I just look ordinary. The monkey on the table next to me is the real ugly one. Huh, do you think I'll believe that? The other fox demon turned to look, and his eyes gradually widened as he sucked in a breath of cold air. It is so ugly. And Lin suddenly stood up, walked towards the two fox demons and sneered, "Say that again." "What? You still won't let me tell the truth." The male fox demon was just about to retort when he was stopped by his companion, who kept shaking his head to signal him not to cause trouble. The male fox demon swallowed his words and looked at Enlin with dissatisfaction. Enlin chuckled. "Do you think it's over if you don't say anything? Say that again is just a prelude. It's not like I won't beat you up if you don't say that again." He raised his fists as he spoke. Thump, 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 bang, bang, bang. Clatter, clatter, clatter. Puff, puff, puff. Out the sound of fists hammering together with the cries of anguish erupted. This battle alerted the owner of the Immortal Spirit Rare Fruit Shop, and Lin tossed a bag of spirit stones at the restaurant owner in a domineering manner. "Those two Fox Tribe brothers on the ground are my friends. I'll pay for their meals." The two fox demons on the ground almost threw up a mouthful of blood. "What the F asterisk CK do you mean by no discord, no concord? Do you think we know each other?" Even though they were cursing in their hearts, they still forced smiles onto their faces in the face of Enlin's tyranny. "Yes, yes, yes. We'll get to know this human brother through a fight." Enlin nodded with a content expression before departing with Xiao Chou. After exiting the Immortal Spirit Rare Fruit Shop, Xiao Chou heaved a faint sigh. "Big brother and we didn't have to do that. They weren't wrong. It's not the first time I've been called ugly. They were telling the truth." A faint smile appeared on Enlin's face. "I'm the only one who can call you ugly. I'll beat the crap out of anyone who dares to do so." Xiao Chou hesitated momentarily before replying. "Little Na and Dabai also told me that I'm ugly." Little Na, Dabai, and Lin's chest constricted upon hearing this. Was bickering fun? Why couldn't they just talk normally? He paused for a moment before explaining, "I actually couldn't resist beating them up not because they thought you were ugly, but because they called you ugly when they were talking about Bai Yao's wedding." Xiao Chou's expression faltered upon hearing this, and tears shimmered in his eyes. Were these two situations the same? Of course they were. Who would want to be used as a negative example when talking about the girl they liked? No matter how big of a heart Xiao Chou was and how he didn't mind being called ugly, he probably didn't want to be called ugly under those circumstances. This was most likely the reason why Enlin had beaten up those two Fox Tribe powerful beings. Xiao Chou was extremely touched. Enlin was able to detect the discomfort he was feeling and stood up for him. Where else could he find a good brother like him? Xiao Chou walked along the streets, and some of the living beings would occasionally turn to look at him with astonishment on their faces before averting their eyes again. Xiao Chou heaved a faint sigh. He was already used to people calling him ugly, but now that he was going to see Bai Yao, he felt a little uncomfortable. He didn't care about what other people thought of him, but what if this affected Bai Yao? His storage ring flashed, and a mask appeared in his hand. This was a high-rank spirit tool, the Azure Battle Arhut mask, upon which was engraved an extremely domineering expression of a diamond. This was a present that Su Xiaolan had given to Xiao Chou. It could unleash the power stored within the mask for a short period of time, and it was a very practical high-rank spirit tool. Xiao Chou silently put on the mask, transforming from an ugly clown into a domineering clown. And Lin, Tina, and Dabai all noticed this, but they didn't say anything. They really didn't care what Xiao Chou wanted to wear. Everyone made their way toward the center of the city, and Lin was still mulling over what the two Fox Tribe powerful beings had said to him. Had Bai Yao been forced into this? If she really had been forced into this, then he would have to change his strategy against Xiao Chou. After walking for a short while, a lavish crystal palace appeared before everyone. The palace's walls were tall and straight, and it was mostly white in color. There was a long series of palaces within that were decorated by mountains and rivers. The roof of the palace was constructed from crystals, and the white crystals refracted the sunlight, causing it to shimmer with colorful light. And Lin's eyes narrowed slightly. "We're here, the Palace of the White Fox Tribe." Chapter 998. And Lin had actually thought of a pretty good idea. The best way to ascertain Bai Yao's feelings was to observe her from the shadows. He wanted to see how she was feeling when she was about to get married. If she was filled with joy and looked forward to the day of her marriage, then it would most likely be a wedding in which both of them were in love. If she was extremely sad, then she was most likely being forced into this marriage. Xiao Chou listened to Enlin's idea, and after a brief internal struggle, he nodded with difficulty and agreed to Enlin's idea. Even though he was very confident in his relationship with Bai Yao, he still had to confirm things. At the very least, he had to gain the approval of Enlin and Tina Dabai. This was very important for their next mission. A white light flashed through Enlin's eyes, and an extremely massive spell formation appeared before his eyes. This was the defensive and surveillance spell formation of the White Fox Tribe Palace. He flicked a finger toward a certain spot within the spell formation, upon which an opening appeared. This was a circular opening that could only allow a few people to pass through. "Let's go in." Enlin rode Dabai through the opening in the spell formation with Tina and Xiao Chou trailing behind them. Tina unleashed a divine technique to conceal everyone's aura and body. Her divine technique was a spell technique that she had created in the divine mirror world, and it was of an extremely high level. Just this concealment spell technique alone was enough to ensure that no living beings other than Return to Void Final Stage Mighty Figures would be able to detect them. As for Return to Void Final Stage Mighty Figures, there were a total of 6 Fox Tribe Mighty Figures, and 2 of them were from the White Fox Tribe. Those 2 White Fox Tribe Mighty Figures weren't going to search the Imperial Palace for no reason, were they? Hence, theoretically speaking, Enlin and the others were quite safe in their infiltration of the Imperial Palace. Thus, Enlin and the others strolled around the Imperial Palace. The reason why they were strolling around was because they were using Tina's concealment spell technique. In reality, they were strolling around the Imperial Palace in broad daylight. Big brother, and I didn't think that the scenery in the Imperial Palace would be so beautiful. Woof. Dabai's nostrils flared as he looked around with drooling eyes. Enlin's nostrils flared, and he nodded with approval. "It's so beautiful. Super beautiful." Tina pouted and grumbled. "We're already in the Imperial Palace, and you're still not being serious." Yes, Dabai and Enlin were looking at the palace maids around them with passionate eyes. The clothes of these palace maids were particularly sexy. The collars in front of their chests were extremely low, revealing half of their snow-white breasts. They wore short skirts, revealing their straight and slender legs in the air, which was very pleasing to the eye. As the palace maids walked around in the palace, waves of fragrance wafted through the air, causing ripples in people's hearts. This kind of palace dress design is really amazing. I want to give the designer a 5-star rating. Enlin continued to laugh shamelessly. Then I'll give the beautiful Fox Palace maid a 5-star rating. Woof. A sly smile appeared on Dabai's face as his big, round eyes roamed around the garden before him. Tina gritted her teeth. She really wanted to immediately dispel her concealment spell technique and let the fox pummel these 2 perverts to death. If she wasn't afraid that the clown's plan would fail, she would have dared to do it. The clown pulled out a handful of pristine white fur. This was a souvenir that Bai Yao had given him before they parted ways, which was also a token of love in the clown's eyes. He would be able to detect her location as long as he was within 5 kilometers of her. The clown had also given a handful of monkey fur to Bai Yao before they parted ways. However, Tina had concealed her aura, so Bai Yao was unable to detect her location. Enlin followed the clown into the inner part of the Imperial Palace. The clown's footsteps suddenly faltered as he spoke with excitement. "I can sense her location. She really didn't lie to me." Enlin rolled his eyes. There was no need to lie about something like this. "She's in the northeast." The clown immediately headed toward the northeast. Enlin and the others followed along behind him. They passed through many small palaces, as well as intricate and elegant courtyards, before finally stopping at a picturesque flower field with all types of flowers growing all over the ground. At the end of the flower field, there was a small hill, and there was a pavilion on top of the hill. "She's in the pavilion." The clown swallowed nervously. The clown became a lot more nervous, and his footsteps slowed down significantly. Bai Yao was forced into this marriage, so she must be in a lot of pain right now, right? I really can't bear to see her like this. The clown spoke as he walked. All of a sudden, his footsteps faltered, and he turned to Enlin with excitement in his eyes. "I'm such an idiot. Why did I have to wait until she got married before taking her away? We can take her away right now. There will be mighty figures present at the wedding, so this is the most relaxed time for us. We can take this opportunity to take her away after we find out what's going on. Dubai stuck out his tongue. Isn't it a form of sentiment to force someone to marry you during a wedding? Perhaps you didn't think of it before because you were feeling sentimental. The clown, he really wanted to retort, but he really couldn't find a reason to do so. You finally thought of it. And Lin patted the clown's shoulder with a smile. That's what I was thinking. If Bai Yao really was forced into this marriage, then we should take Bai Yao and get out of here right now. The clown turned to Lin with a grateful expression and nodded. He took a deep breath and mustered up the courage to continue onward toward the pavilion. Outside the pavilion, a few figures appeared on a tall tree. From this angle, they could see the interior of the pavilion through the window. I feel like we're a little perverted. The clown couldn't help but say, "We're doing this to save the little white fox. How can you call it perverted?" Lin retorted with a serious expression. Thus, everyone patiently hid on the tree and observed in silence. They were waiting for Bai Yao to appear. Not long after that, they seemed to hear singing. This was a very light and joyful song, and it was very pleasant to listen to. It's her. That's her voice. She's singing. I heard this song when I first met her. The clown's voice was trembling slightly, and he was clearly very excited. However, Dubai asked, if that's Bai Yao's voice, why is she singing such a joyful song? The clown's body stiffened as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over him. At this moment, a window was pushed open. An exquisitely beautiful face appeared before everyone. The woman wore a flowing white dress, and her hands were crossed on the windowsill with her chin resting on the back of her hands. Her smile was as vibrant and enchanting as a spring breeze, and her pure and seductive disposition combined to give her a unique sense of allure. Even Lin and Dubai, who had seen many beautiful women, were momentarily entranced. The clown stared blankly at the woman before him, as if he had fallen into a trance. The woman looked into the distance with a smile on her face, and her eyes shimmered with anticipation. There are still 6 more days. I'm really looking forward to it, on top of a tree. That's Bai Yao. She's still as beautiful as ever, and she's smiling so happily. The clown's voice trembled slightly as he spoke. His face was obscured by his mask, so it was impossible to see his expression. However, there seemed to be water slipping off the edges of his mask. Chapter 999. And Lin, Dubai, and Tina didn't say anything. Xiao Qiu stared silently at the woman's smile, and time seemed to have stopped. The woman's smile was like a sharp sword that stabbed viciously into Xiao Qiu's heart. He was supposed to be happy for her, but why did his heart ache so much? He didn't know how long he stared at her. "Let's go, big brother," and Xiao Qiu's voice was a little hoarse as he spoke. He didn't offer to take Bai Yao with him, nor did he choose to meet her. Perhaps Xiao Qiu had already made a choice, a very rational one. And Lin heaved a faint sigh. Relationships couldn't be forced. One-sided love was destined to end in tragedy, and even he wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Perhaps this was the best course of action. He had completely given up on her before the wedding. There was no drama. He had come in silence and left in silence. And Lin was a little concerned as he looked at Xiao Qiu's well-built figure. The clown's heart might be bleeding, but with the passage of time, there would come a day when it would heal. His self-righteous feelings were just a mistake. He would eventually realize this. Even though the process was a little cruel, this was the only way to deal with it. Within a fruit shop in Qinghu City, Xiao Qiu began to eat and drink as he stuffed fruits into his mouth over and over again. The fruits produced in Qinghu City weren't cheap. Even though many people were addicted to them, this was the first time any of the surrounding foxes had seen someone eat so much. All of them turned to look at Xiao Qiu. They were initially stunned by his monstrous and extravagant eating habits before being astonished by his facial features. The fox tribe was a race that yearned for beauty, so they were usually quite good-looking after their human forms, so they had never seen anything like this before. Holy F***CK. One ugly monkey. My God, I feel like I'm going to have nightmares when I see that face. He's the only one like this in this world. I feel like he's ruining my appetite. All of the surrounding foxes couldn't help but discuss among themselves. None of this escaped Lin's ears, and he immediately stood up. However, at this moment, Xiao Chou latched onto his hand. No need, I'm fine. I'm already used to it. A hideous smile appeared on Xiao Chou's face. And Lin wanted to say something, but after seeing the pleading look in the clown's eyes, he finally sat back down. The clown continued to wolf down the food, crying as he ate. Don't rush, eat slowly, don't choke. Boss, give me another 1,000 green fox fruits. And Lin shouted as he tossed out 50,000 spirit stones. Hiss! The fox clan member next to him sucked in a breath of cold air. They were afraid that if they ate too much, they would become addicted and go bankrupt. That table of people, on the other hand, was afraid of choking on the green fox fruit, so they casually tossed 50,000 spirit stones into the air. A super tycoon. The boss excitedly put away the money and immediately asked someone to bring the fruit. The cyan fox fruits were stacked high like a small mountain. A strange fragrance wafted in the air. Xiao Chou continued to wolf down his food. When I was with her in the Miria Mountain realm, she gave me a few green fox fruits, and I really liked them. She even said that if I ever come to Qinghu City again, she'll treat me to a feast. Xiao Chou's emotions eased slightly upon hearing this. She also gave me a bag of green fox fruit tree seeds, telling me that they would grow into a green fox fruit tree. I tried to plant them, but they didn't grow. We agreed that we would meet again in the future. I knew that there was a huge disparity between us, so I worked very hard to cultivate in order to be worthy of her. I finally reached the soul formation stage and became an elder of the 4-9 immortal sect. I wanted to meet her now that I had some confidence, but Xiao Chou began to sob again as he spoke. I had always thought that the simple interaction between me and her, talking about life in the mountains without any secrets, playing together, hunting together, catching fish together, living a carefree life. I thought that was the most beautiful relationship in this world. She even asked me if I would mind marrying a fox as my Tao partner. Xiao Chou swallowed the fruit in his mouth. I don't know what she meant by that, but at that time, I felt like I had already fallen for her. Even though our interactions were very ordinary, I really did like her, and I wanted to be with her. The love of the world is but a white porcelain plum soup in the middle of summer. Xiao Chou stared blankly at the green fox fruit in his hand. Before he knew it, tears began to flow again. Xiao Chou had always been a very emotional person, and he was a bit of a loner. It was a pity that she didn't want him, even though he had chosen to conquer himself. And Lin heaved a forlorn sigh upon seeing this. The love tribulations of this world are but 3 black tiles of Huangli and Xinji. 3 black tiles of Huangli and Xinji. 3 black tiles of Huangli and Xinji. Xiao Chou's eyes lit up as he turned to look at Lin. This sentence revealed what he was thinking and resonated with him. Xiao Chou took a deep breath before continuing to eat the green fox fruit. Eat all these fruits and forget about her, and Lin urged. Xiao Chou nodded silently before wolfing down the green fox fruit. And Lin, Dabai, and Tina all ate with him. Not long after that, all 1,000 green fox fruits had been devoured by them. I'm so full, woof. Dabai rubbed his bulging stomach with a contented expression. Tina smacked her lips as if she hadn't had enough and wanted to eat more. With her powerful cultivation base, she could naturally resist the temptation of these fruits, but she didn't want to resist them as they were simply too delicious. And Lin turned toward Xiao Chou, and he heaved a sigh of relief upon seeing that the grief on Xiao Chou's face had subsided. Let's go back now, Xiao Chou. Bai Yao has her own happiness, and you can start a new relationship, and Lin suggested. That's right, Big Brother Chou. With your power and status in the 4-9 immortal sect, you can even start a harem of female monkeys. Woof. Dabai clapped his paws together. Xiao Chou was quite amused by Dabai's words, and an ugly smile appeared on his face. Tina struck while the iron was still hot. That's right. After you leave this tree, there's a whole forest waiting for you. Besides, you won't be lonely as we'll be with you. Tears welled up in Xiao Chou's eyes as he listened to his friends, and he almost burst into tears again. Thank you all. It's so good to have met all of you. A faint smile appeared on Enlin's face. Xiao Qiu had finally recovered from his heartbreak. Xiao Qiu continued, "However, I'm still going to attend Bai Yao's wedding. I want to make a final confirmation. I want to see her happily married to someone else with my own eyes." Enlin, Dubai, Tina, what the F asterisk CK? Going to Xiao Qiu's wedding now. All obsessions in this world were nothing more than 1,000 layers of ice that could not be moved. Chapter 1000. Enlin respected Xiao Qiu's decision. Seeing as Xiao Qiu had decided to attend Bai Yao's wedding, he wanted to witness the happiest moment of her life. As such, all Enlin and the others could do was to accompany Xiao Qiu in his torture. After all, they weren't truly in love with each other. They could only watch the two of them interact with one another at the wedding before letting go of this obsession. Enlin decided to stay in Qinghu City and await the day of the wedding. Time passed by one day after another. Qinghu City was also becoming more and more lively. The wedding of the princess of the White Fox tribe and the young master of the Black Fox tribe was like a fairy tale wedding between a princess and a prince. This was already a major event in the creation realm, so all of the living beings in Qinghu City and even some of the friendly sects in the nearby realms would send people to congratulate them. Their wedding was as dazzling as the wedding of the century. On the night before the wedding, fireworks blossomed in the night sky, illuminating the entire sky with a dazzling radiance. Enlin sent Tina away before dragging Xiao Qiu and Dubai to the Holy Land of Men, the seductive Fox Pavilion. This was heaven in a sense. At the very center of the seductive Fox Pavilion was a beautiful blue stage in the shape of a water lotus. A seductive vixen in a rainbow-colored dress was dancing on the stage. Her body swayed from side to side, and her every smile and expression was enough to make the blood of all the spectators surge. Her seduction techniques were truly at the pinnacle. Within the Sky Private Room, there was a superb viewing vantage point on the stage. A man and a dog were so engrossed in watching the dance that they were unable to extricate themselves from it. Beside them, there were also several beautiful and sexy fox girls serving them. However, there was a monkey wearing a mask that was quite unique. Even though his eyes were focused on the dancers on the stage, his consciousness had drifted away from heaven and earth, as if he couldn't care less about what was going on around him. "Hey, Xiao Qiu, you have to enjoy what you have right now. Why are you thinking so much? Look at that fox dancer on the stage. She's an outstanding beauty, and her dance is magnificent. Don't you have any interest in her?" Enlin noticed that the clown was still not interested in these things, so he couldn't help but try to persuade him. That's right. The ladies beside you are so nice. They're gentle, considerate, voluptuous, and sexy. Brother Qiu, can you bear to neglect them like this? Woof. Dubai sat on a chair with his legs crossed. He stretched out his right paw and hugged a gorgeous fox girl as he leisurely persuaded. However, the clown was like a stone monkey. Faced with the extremely seductive dance on the stage, he did not react at all. He was treated as an important target by Enlin, and he was surrounded by all kinds of vixens. There were pure and adorable little vixens, shy and adorable lowly vixens, sexy and seductive older vixens, and wild and ferocious older vixens. They were like orioles and swallows, displaying all of their skills with the goal of conquering the clown. The filthy, rich cultivator beside him had said that if anyone could win the favor of Brother Monkey, they would be rewarded 50,000 spirit stones. This was definitely a huge sum of money for the fox girls of the seductive Fox Pavilion. "Come on, Brother Monkey, have a drink. How about you eat a fruit? I'll feed you, Brother Monkey. Give me a hug. Why are you wearing a mask, Brother Monkey? You look very domineering, but I still want to see your face." The clown replied in a resigned manner. "I'm afraid that I'll scare all of you if I take off my mask." A red fox with a voluptuous chest and a slender waist was unconvinced. "How could that be? Brother Monkey is mighty and domineering, and you have a well-built body. I give you 9 points for that alone. No matter what, your face won't scare me. I'll be attracted by your imposing figure and fall in love with your face." That's right. Brother Monkey, hurry up and take off your mask." All of the fox beauties chimed in excitedly. In order to open a man's heart, one had to take off his mask first. With so many customers seeking to drown their sorrows in alcohol, how could they not know this? All of them had received professional training and had seen all kinds of customers. Be scared? What a joke. The clown fell silent for a moment, and perhaps he really couldn't stand the feeling of being surrounded by a bunch of fox beauties. All right, I agree to take off my mask. Why don't we play a game? All of the fox beauties became excited again at the mention of a game. Sure. This servant loves to play games. What kind of game is it? I can't play a game that's too overboard. The punishment for losing the game is that you can only remove one piece of clothing at most. A faint smile appeared on the clown's face. I'll take off my mask, and I'll be with anyone who takes the initiative to kiss me tonight. Gasp. All of the fox beauties drew a sharp intake of breath. This was a chance to earn 50,000 spirit stones. The atmosphere instantly exploded as all of the beautiful fox beauties pounced toward the clown, fighting for the best spot to kiss him. If they were too slow, they would lose their chance. Me, brother monkey, I want to kiss you. Get out of the way. Leave a spot for me. You're going too far. This spot is mine. The clown looked at the fox beauties before him before slowly taking off his mask. An earth-shattering face appeared in front of all of the fox beauties. The noisy environment suddenly quietened down. All of the fox beauties' mouths gaped open as their eyes glazed over with shock. Even their breathing slowed down. That eyes, that nose, that mouth, that face, how terrifying. The clown cracked a smile. Who wants to kiss me? All of the fox beauties shuddered. Some of the fox beauties couldn't help but scream in fright. Some of them even collapsed to the ground as their legs gave out from under them. The fox girls, who had been scrambling to kiss the clown, all scattered and fled from the scene. The fox beauties who had always pursued beauty were completely flabbergasted upon seeing the clown's face. Just the thought of kissing the clown made them so scared that they didn't even dare to do business with him and immediately ran away. All of them had been professionally trained, and under normal circumstances, they wouldn't be disgusted by their customers' looks unless they really couldn't help it. In the end, only the red-tailed fox beauty remained. She stared blankly at the clown and didn't run away. Her mental fortitude was strong enough to withstand a wave of attacks from the clown's looks. At this moment, thoughts were surging through her mind. To kiss or not to kiss? Close your eyes and everything will be fine. 50,000 spirit stones will be in my hands. Clown looked at the red fox girl who had not left. He smiled politely, but not awkwardly. Gasp! She saw that earth-shattering smile. The red-tailed fox beauty's body trembled as her eyes gradually lost focus. Then she fainted. All of the fox beauties in the private room had finally been killed by the clown, and the entire room was quiet again. Unlin, the clown smiled, revealing the expression of a lonely expert, and silently put his mask back on. Chapter 1001. In any case, the night before the wedding. Unlin's plan to let Xiao Chou have a good time seemed to have failed. Xiao Chou wasn't able to get high, but Unlin and Dabai were quite happy. The three of them made their way out of the seductive fox house and returned to their living quarters. A man who's been hurt by love is still able to remain true to himself. It has to be said that Xiao Chou really is a loyal man. Unlin shook his head and sighed with emotion. It's actually not a good thing to be too loyal. Love can get hurt easily, and even the heavens themselves will grow old. Brother Chou, you're living a very tiring life if you're so serious. Woof. Dabai wagged his snowy white tail as he offered his opinion of love. Xiao Chou smiled upon hearing this. Don't worry, I've already gotten over it. I just haven't gotten over it yet. And Lin and Dabai were quite relieved to hear this. That night was a very lively one. Qinghu City was a city that never slept, and many of the entertainment venues in the city were still open until the next day. And Lin and the others didn't stay up too late. After all, there was still an adorable little fairy waiting for them. And Lin couldn't ruin his perfect image in Tina's heart, even though it was very likely that his image had been ruined a long time ago. Jine and Lin, why were you out for so long? Tina placed her hands on her hips as she interrogated Lin in a delicate voice. And Lin coughed lightly before replying in a nonchalant manner. We were taking Xiao Chou out to relax, so we went to watch a dance. That's right, there were foxes playing with that dance, but our hearts were clear, and we chased all of those seductive cheese away. Woof. Dabai chimed in with a righteous expression. Tina turned to look at Xiao Cho with a surprised expression. You're that obedient. Xiao Cho nodded with a speechless expression. That was indeed the case. He had indeed chased all of those seductive cheese away, and he had done it with his face. However, what was with the intense sorrow in his heart? This was the first time he had realized that ugliness could also be a weapon. The next morning, on this day, a fragrant aroma wafted through the entire city. Red flower petals fell from the sky, creating a red carpet on the ground. The Fox tribe all put up celebratory decorations to celebrate this beautiful day. Bai Yao and Chun Nan's wedding was going to take place on this day. In the largest imperial palace of Qinghu City, the Qinghu Imperial Palace, powerful beings from all over the world began to gather here. A series of ferocious mutant beasts flew over atop clouds and mist as they dragged throned carriages. There were even WIRMS flying in the Cho Xiao Cho. It was an extremely prosperous and spectacular scene. Because there were a lot of visitors, the guards at the gate only recognized the invitations and not all the experts. Hey, Cho Xiao Cho Ling Xiao, Cho Xiao. White light flashed in his eyes for a moment. He saw three extremely complicated and huge formations. They were harmonizing with each other and enveloped the entire palace. This spell formation was of an extremely high level, and it was most likely a Dao integration stage spell formation. Even though Enlin could see the flaws in the spell formation, it would not be easy for him to break it. However, he didn't need to do so. He was only here to accompany the clown to be stabbed in the heart. This wedding sure is massive. It's almost as big as when our sect was first established. Woof. Dabai couldn't help but exclaim in amazement at the sight of all the powerful beings passing by. This is a grand occasion for the entire creation realm, so it's only normal to have a wedding of this scale, and Lin replied. Many sect representatives from the creation realm had arrived, and Lin's team of one man, one monkey, one dog, and one fairy was quite special, but they were completely unremarkable here, so there was no need for any disguises. This was because the living beings here were far more eccentric than they were. A huge snowball rolling forward caught sight of a huge silver saber and extended an excited greeting. Ha! Mighty Saber King, long time no see. You're still as dazzling as ever. The silver-white giant saber waved a few times in the air proudly. Of course, my saber is not old, and my charm is still there. Why, do you want to taste my big baby? Snowball excitedly rolled around the silver-white giant knife, and the cold air around it became a bit stronger. It said excitedly, Great, let's have a good battle tonight. Let's see if your saber is tougher, or if my snow is tighter. Giant and Lin, what are they talking about? Tina asked with a curious expression. Ahem, they're probably challenging me to a battle. And Lin didn't want to explain in detail. He felt like his thoughts were a little too dirty, and he didn't want to lead the innocent fairy astray. Similar scenes were taking place all over the Azure Fox Imperial Palace. The living beings in the creation realm were the most eccentric on the entire continent. Animals becoming spirits was already very common. Apart from that, there were also snowballs becoming spirits, weapons becoming spirits, and food becoming spirits. Dabai passed by a VIP restaurant and caught sight of a sesame pancake chasing after two huge golden youtiao. It almost ate the pancake and the youtiao in its mouth. From a certain perspective, the Fox tribe of the creation realm was the most normal race in the entire realm. At the very least, their development was very normal. Who could tell Lin how a sesame pancake could give birth? How could soybean milk and youtiao make love? Tina's instincts told her that everything she was seeing was extremely novel. The living beings here seemed to have intelligence and souls bestowed upon them by the heavens. It's incredible. Lin and Dabai nodded in agreement to Tina's statement. At this moment, somewhere not far away, a dozen or so rock golems with flames burning in their chests had also arrived at the wedding venue. They immediately attracted countless pairs of eyes upon their appearance. This was not because of their appearances. Instead, it was because of their identities. These rock golems with flames burning in their chests belonged to the divine rock tribe, which ruled over one of the 10 main cities of the creation realm, Stone City. The higher-ups of the Fox tribe immediately made their way toward the divine rock tribe. At this moment, one of the rock golems turned its attention to Enlin, and its pupils contracted slightly. "What's wrong, Hongdo?" a powerful rock golem asked. "Nothing. I think I saw someone familiar," Hongdo replied. "Familiar? Who?" the rock golem asked curiously. The rock golem was very intrigued by the fact that Hongdo was acquainted with someone as sly as him. I think I was mistaken." Hongdo shook his head before turning his attention back to the Fox tribe. Even though he was very curious as to why Enlin was here, he knew that now was not the time to reunite with him. 2 hours later, the experts and sect representatives of the major races had gathered together, and there were at least 100,000 of them. At this moment, a pure white palace that was supported by white crystal pillars appeared at the center of the imperial palace. At the same time, divine light and heavenly music erupted. A joyous and joyous tune began to play. All of the living beings turned their eyes toward the extremely intricate white palace. Enlin and Xiaoqiu had already made their way to the front of the wedding venue. Now, the much-anticipated wedding was finally about to begin. Chapter 1002. The White Palace attracted everyone's attention. A red carpet extended from the palace to a certain palace. There were over 100 beautiful vixens in long blue dresses standing on either side of the red carpet. Within the palace, there were 5 white foxes and 4 black foxes waiting silently. They were the closest family members of the couple. The most powerful of the foxes, the Azure Fox tribe, sent a handsome Azure Fox mighty figure to stand in the air outside the palace. He held a green pearl in his hand and presided over the entire wedding. "Good morning, all of you. My name is Qing Inghu, and I will be officiating this world-renowned wedding." Immediately afterward, he began to introduce some of the important figures. Enlin used his divine sense to detect that there were over 30 return to Void Stage mighty figures present, including 5 return to Void Final Stage mighty figures. Among them were a white fox, a black fox, a green fox, and 2 top-rate mighty figures from the Hall of Creation. It had to be said that this was quite a formidable lineup. Thankfully, Xiaoqiu wasn't planning to crash the wedding. Otherwise, this would be hell. "That's strange. I feel like someone's looking at me," Enlin murmured to himself as he looked around, but he didn't discover anything out of the ordinary. Within the Divine Rock Tribe, Hongdo immediately turned toward the central palace as his heart thumped in his chest. Why was he seeing Enlin here? This didn't make sense. Hongdo was extremely perplexed. Even though he had repressed the urge to greet Enlin, he couldn't help but want to know what Enlin was up to. Before he knew it, Hongdo felt like he had fallen prey to Enlin. What did the wedding of 2 Fox Tribe cultivators have to do with Enlin? Was there some kind of hidden agenda? Could it be that he was going to do something earth-shattering? If he was going to do something big, then who was he targeting? The main characters of this wedding were by Yao and Chunnan. If Enlin really had a target, then it would be those 2 Fox Tribe cultivators. Could it be that there was some kind of secret between Enlin and Princess Bai Yao? Hongdo's eyes widened, and he drew a sharp intake of breath as this thought occurred to him. He felt like he had discovered something important. Enlin was in love with Princess Bai Yao, so he was going to crash the wedding. Oh my God, Enlin really had guts. Hongdo was extremely excited, and he turned to Enlin with scorching anticipation in his eyes. It felt that, as a friend who did not get to know each other through a fight, it could help out a little in the White Palace. A warm smile appeared on Bai Yao's mother Bai Muyu's face as she turned to the black fox beside her. "Chen Hao, I heard that Nan made another breakthrough in his dark corrosion to divine flame 2 days ago." The tall man with light stubble on his face snorted coldly and said in a displeased tone, "So what if I am?" Bai Muyu's smile remained unchanged. "That's naturally something that makes me extremely happy." Chun Hao's face convulsed slightly, but he didn't say anything as he continued to maintain his authority as the Black Fox Emperor. Next, we would like to invite the most exceptional prodigy of the Fox tribe's younger generation, young Master Chunnan, who announced in a loud voice. Immediately, there was a burst of enthusiastic cheers and applause. There were even many Fox Clan girls who were blushing and screaming loudly. A man in a black Taoist robe made his way out of the palace. His appearance was truly very handsome. His figure was tall and straight, and his pair of black eyes were as bright as the stars. Not only could women easily fall in love with him, even men who saw such a handsome man would not be able to control themselves. Of course, an iron-willed man like Lin was an exception. He and Big Brother Chung had been brothers for so long that they had developed an immunity to such things. Chunnan's appearance was undoubtedly met with a wave of raucous cheers. A faint smile appeared on Chunnan's face as he made his way toward the center of the palace before turning his eyes toward the palace. Many living beings were attracted by Chunnan's dazzling, handsome features. Lin harumphed coldly. A man like this is the dream of millions of Fox Clan girls? Wolsh *T. I'll be more handsome than him, even if I dress up a little. Dabai chimed in, this Black Fox really isn't a good match for Bai Yao. Bai Yao must have been blind to have chosen Black Fox. Don't be sad, Big Brother Cho. When you unleash your power, all the Black Foxes and White Foxes will have to bow down to you. Woof. Both of them surreptitiously turned toward Xiao Cho as they spoke. They were afraid that Xiao Cho would be dealt a heavy blow by Chunnan, which was why they were saying this. However, Xiao Cho didn't pay any heed to Chunnan. Instead, his large, light bulb-like eyes were focused intently on the palace in the distance. Qing Inghu's impassioned voice sounded again. Young Master Chun Nan has already taken his place. Now, let us welcome the most exceptional prodigy of the Fox tribe's younger generation, the dream of millions of Fox tribe men, Princess Bai Yao. All of the Fox tribe cultivators began to scream and cheer, accompanied by the heart-wrenching cries of some of the Fox tribe men, as if the girl of their dreams had left them. However, Lin's expression had darkened. What was with Qing Inghu's seemingly familiar line? Couldn't he at least make it a little more special? How could someone like him be the host of the Fox tribe's wedding of the century? Tens of thousands of spectators erupted into raucous cheers. A beautiful white figure appeared at the entrance of the palace. She wore a regal and holy phoenix coronet with the moon gem on her head, and she wore a pristine white wedding dress that accentuated her flawless figure. Her off-the-shoulder, short-sleeved dress accentuated her fair skin, and she wore a pair of white crystal shoes on her feet. Thus, Bai Yao made her way toward her Prince Charming like a princess. Most of the living beings were entranced by Bai Yao's beauty, and cries of surprise and admiration rang out incessantly. Chunnan wore a smile on his face as he silently welcomed his princess. This is such a dreamy and beautiful scene. Ah, young Master Chunnan is so handsome. Princess Bai Yao is also very beautiful. Even though my Prince Charming has been taken by her, I have to admit that she's the only one worthy of my Prince Charming. They really are a match made in heaven. All other living beings would be punished by the heavens if they dared to interfere. All of the living beings expressed their blessings toward the newlyweds. Almost all of the living beings present thought that these two Fox tribe cultivators were the most perfect couple. Xiao Cho stared blankly at Bai Yao as she made her way toward Chunnan. Memories of the past resurfaced in his mind, and the chatter around him became more and more jarring. But he forced himself to repress his emotions. Yes, what a perfect couple. Bai Yao was like a white swan, while Xiao Cho was like an ugly duckling at most. Would a white swan like an ugly duckling? No, she would only like a black swan. Xiao Cho had heard a fairy tale before. There was once an ugly duckling who grew up to become a white swan. What a beautiful story. Xiao Cho's childhood was very similar to that of an ugly duckling. There was once an ugly duckling, and it grew up to become even uglier. That's right, Xiao Cho didn't become a white swan. Instead, he went from adorably ugly to ugly. This was Xiao Cho's story. Fairy tales were all lies. Now that the white swan was getting married, ugly duckling could only look on blankly from afar. Bai Yao made her way to the center of the palace. As the publicly acknowledged #1 beauty of the younger generation of the fox tribe, her beauty could only be described as breathtaking. Her beautiful eyes swept across the people who had come to congratulate her. All of the living beings in her wake felt as if their hearts had skipped a beat. A second later, Bai Yao's gaze settled on a certain spot. There was a particularly eye-catching figure there. Even after such a long time, she was still able to immediately spot him amid all of the living beings present. Bai Yao's smile was as vibrant as a flower. She spoke with excitement. "I see you." The holy and beautiful white swan had discovered the masked, ugly duckling. Chapter 1003. Chen Nan, what are you talking about? Bai Muyu's expression darkened slightly. Wait a bit longer. A faint smile appeared on Bai Yao's face, and no other emotions could be gleaned from it. Tina also began to make a few hand seals, and a divine light flashed through her green eyes. Things had developed in a completely different direction than he had imagined. Boom! A blue-tailed mermaid made her way over with tears shimmering in her eyes. Chen Nan, I'm here to pick you up. Come with me. Are you finally going to lay your cards on the table? Let me tell you the truth, I'm not. Black Fox Chen Nan's expression remained unchanged, and he still wore a joyful and expectant smile on his face. This was something that he had always believed in, and he had never given up on. Even after eating 1,000 green fox fruits at the Rare Fruit Pavilion a few days ago, he had never let go of this belief. Otherwise, he wouldn't have suggested coming here to witness Bai Yao's blissful expression. I have a spatial divine technique that allows me to perform extremely fast spatial skipping. Even a return to void final stage mighty figure would find it extremely difficult to catch up to us, Tina said. It was such a grand occasion. Yet Princess Bai Yao had lost control of her emotions and uttered such a nonsensical remark. This drew the attention of almost all of the living beings in the area. A cold smile appeared on Chen Nan's face as he turned to Bai Muyu. Your daughter needs my dark corrosion divine flame to repress the frosty yang root within her body, and she's only using me to do so. It was exactly because of this that everyone stared at the two newlyweds with incredulity in their eyes. Who would have thought that there would be such an inside story behind this wedding? Hongdo was staring at Enlin with excitement in his eyes. Enlin also turned to look at Enlin with a smile. Do you want to go? Do you want to be with Bai Yao? We'll go and get Bai Yao back for you. This was a fact. It's nothing. I just saw a friend of mine. However, he also knew that this was not the time to question Enlin. F***CK. He had thought that Bai Yao was being forced into a marriage. All of the Fox tribe living beings were quite displeased. His voice wasn't very loud, but everyone present was quite powerful, so they naturally heard him. Bai Yao's smile and her words struck him deeply in the heart, making him want to charge toward her without any regard for his own safety. Unknowingly, a rain of petals fell from the sky. The scene was extremely beautiful and spectacular. Bai Yao faltered slightly upon hearing this. What was he doing now? The clown turned to look at Enlin. Xiao Chou looked at his companions who wanted to fight for his happiness. Then at the return to void final stage mighty figures on the stage, and he opened his mouth to speak before shaking his head with difficulty. The evil-slaying sword had already appeared in Enlin's hand. The clown turned his gaze to the hall with excitement. With this in mind, the flames on Hongdo's chest burned even more brightly. The family's blessings had ended, and now it was time for the couple to take their vows. The wedding ceremony continued. He felt like he was being a little strange. He really wanted to be with Bai Yao, so he should have been happy to see Chun and turn him down. However, when he saw the scene in front of him, an unknown rage surged in his heart, making him want to beat Black Fox up. Bai Yao and Chun really did make a great couple. However, if he were to be with Bai Yao, he would definitely be laughed at by everyone else. Perhaps he would even be struck by divine lightning. There, Bai Yao and Chun then were looking at one another with joyful and relaxed smiles on their faces. For some reason, when he saw this scene, his heart slowly cooled down. Chun then looked directly into Bai Muyu's eyes. I'm only saying all of this to expose your lies. I was forced into this marriage. I don't love Bai Yao. It understood what Bai Yao was implying. Bai Yao had said that she had seen him, that she had seen in Lin. That was a simple sentence, but in Lin, Dabai, and Tina were rooted to the spot. Chun Nan, what the hell are you talking about? Bai Muyu flared up with rage. The clown's fists were tightly clenched. Qin Yinghu made his way between Chun Nan and Bai Yao before speaking in a solemn voice. Black Fox Chun Nan, are you willing to take Princess Bai Yao as your wife? Love her and be faithful to her, no matter if she is poor, sick, disabled, or dead. Are you willing? For some reason, a smile suddenly appeared on Bai Yao's face upon seeing Chun Nan's expression. There was a very good chance that he was going to kidnap the bride. And Lin's mouth also gaped open as he fell into a momentary daze. And Lin and Bai Yao really did have something going on. I'm not willing. Before he even had a chance to finish his sentence, heaven and earth suddenly began to tremor violently. What the F***CK? What kind of answer was this? His words were like a bolt of lightning that completely intimidated everyone. And Lin had already activated his cultivation method and was waiting for the clown to say the word. He would immediately rush forward and clear a path for the clown. The Black Fox young master, Chun Nan, looked at Bai Yao with a smile. Big Brother Cho, I told you that Chun Nan isn't a good match for Bai Yao. You're the only good match for her, woof. Dabai was also rubbing his claws with excitement. Boom! All of the flower petals falling from the sky suddenly faltered. What was he supposed to do in this situation? Friends? What kind of friends would make her do something like this? At this moment, joyous and romantic music began to play again. In the end, the groom was being forced into a marriage. The clown's breathing became more rapid. He silently took a step forward, and his surging battle intent seemed to be about to burst out. Clown, tell me, do you want to do this or not? And Lin urged. All of the living beings present widened their eyes as they stared blankly at the scenes unfolding before their eyes, as if they had heard something wrong. Right before everyone's eyes, the clown looked at Chun Nan, and it had to be said that he really was very handsome. The clown really liked Bai Yao, and he also felt like Bai Yao liked him. The clown stared blankly at everyone before him as tears welled up in his eyes again. Two extremely terrifying auras erupted into the sky. I saw you. I didn't really believe it at first, but Bai Yao was able to spot the masked Big Brother clown at first glance, and she even said on the spot, this is definitely true love. I have to do my part for Big Brother Clown's happiness. The princess of the Spirit Fish clan had brought many mighty figures with her to the wedding, and Lin was completely dumbstruck. They hadn't even started the wedding, and the groom was already saying that he wasn't willing? What the hell was going on? And Lin was astonished, and his head felt like mush. Most importantly, he dared to say it on the spot. Big Brother, the clown's breathing accelerated, and his body began to tremble slightly. The clown's body also trembled violently as he tried to repress his impulses. The wedding host, Qin Yinghu, was even more dumbstruck. Heaven and earth instantly fell silent. Do you want to go? Two return to void final stage mermaid mighty figures suddenly set up an extremely terrifying enchantment barrier to seal off a small area of the wedding hall. Almost all of the living beings turned toward the direction in which Bai Yao was looking, but Bai Yao had already turned toward Chun Nan. Little Yao, who did you see? Bai Muyu's brows furrowed slightly. Chapter 1004. Some of the experts present recognized the blue-tailed mermaid who had suddenly appeared. She's the second princess of the Hongmeng divine altar of the Spirit Fish clan, Lan Xiaoni. My God, how did she get involved with Chun Nan? Is she trying to kidnap the bride? Everyone stared at the scenes unfolding before their eyes with dumbstruck expressions. The Qinghu Imperial Palace is not a place where you can run amok. A return to void final stage green fox tribe mighty figure let loose an enraged roar before attacking the enchantment barrier set up by the two Spirit Fish clan mighty figures. All of the other green fox tribe powerful beings also attacked at the same time, creating an extremely chaotic scene. As for the other two return to void final stage mighty figures from the creation realm, they remained silent with their eyes closed. They didn't want to interfere in a conflict of interest like this. Within the enchantment barrier, Lan Xiaoni flew toward Chun Nan. Chun Nan, stop this farce right now. Bai Muyu turned to attack Chun Nan. However, a figure stood in Chun Nan's way as the power of the divine Tao surged forth. You. Bai Muyu's expression was filled with rage. The person standing in her way was none other than the most powerful being in the Black Fox tribe, Black Fox Emperor Chun Hao. Ha ha! We don't need to interfere in the affairs of our juniors. Chun Hao laughed heartily as he summoned a black pearl, which instantly enshrouded both him and Bai Muyu, thereby restricting her movements. It was also at this moment that Chun Nan turned to Bai Yao with a ferocious expression. You wanted to use my dark corrosion divine flame, but you didn't expect that I would also need the power of the frosty yang root to repress the increasingly fearsome flame power within my body. However, the only difference is that I can directly extract your frosty yang root. Bai Yao's features paled slightly, and she seemed to have realized Chun Nan's intentions. She took a couple of steps back, but her enchanting eyes were filled with determination. I had no intention of marrying you to begin with. Seeing as you're thinking the same thing, I have even less of a burden to bear. Chun Nan chuckled coldly as he made his way toward Bai Yao. He treated her words as a bluff. Please stop, young Master Chun Nan. Don't do anything rash. The wedding MC, Qing Yinghu, finally knew what he had to do, and he positioned himself in front of Bai Yao. F***CK off. Lan Xiaoni let loose a clear cry before transforming into a streak of blue light and pouncing toward the Cyan Shadow Fox. The return to void initial stage Cyan Shadow Fox was knocked aside by Lan Xiaoni. Chun Nan put on a pair of metal gloves, and dark corrosive flames burst forth as he made his way toward Bai Yao. Don't worry, as long as you don't resist, I'll extract your frosty yang root without taking your life. Of course, there was one more thing he didn't say. Don't blame me for losing my cultivation. Rumble. All of a sudden, the barrier shook violently. What's going on? Chun Nan's expression changed drastically. He turned to look at the barrier, only to see that a mighty figure who had chosen to watch from the sidelines had suddenly intervened in this matter. This was Yudo from the Divine Rock tribe. He was currently attacking the Spirit Fish Clan's barrier with the Green Fox tribe mighty figure. Grandpa, hurry up and smash it. My friend's woman is in danger. Hongdo yelled. Yudo let loose an enraged roar, and his mountainous fists rained down on the enchantment barrier as he roared in a thunderous voice. Release Mr. and Lin's woman. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. He had already heard Hongdo's recount of what had happened. He was very familiar with the romance of kidnapping a bride. However, he didn't think that both sides would try to kidnap the bride. This was quite an exciting turn of events. Yudo decided to stand with his grandson's friend and cooperate with the Green Fox tribe mighty figure. The Green Fox tribe was dumbstruck. They were very happy to have another powerful ally. But what the hell was this about releasing Enlin's woman? Could it be that Bai Yao was... Enlin's mouth gaped open as 10,000 mythological beasts stampeded over his heart. Enlin. Could it be the Lord of Transcendence, Enlin? My God, Enlin is in a relationship with Bai Yao? Why don't I understand what's going on at this wedding? Look, Enlin really is there. Gasp. Lan Xiaoni kidnapped Chun Nan, and Enlin kidnapped Bai Yao? This is explosive. This is going to rock the entire continent. All of the onlookers' eyes widened as they discussed among themselves. Enlin was dumbstruck. His heart was starting to feel a little overwhelmed by the way things had been twisted during this period of time. What the F***CK was going on now? This was way too bizarre and terrifying. What the F***CK was this about Enlin's woman? Why was Bai Yao involved with him? Who was trying to set him up? If Su Xiaolan were to find out about this, he was going to be screwed. Brother, let me explain. Enlin almost threw up a mouthful of blood as he turned to look at Xiao Chou. If he were to find out who was trying to set him up, he was going to cut that starred into 1,000 pieces. Big brother, and I know what kind of person Bai Yao is. You've been misunderstood. Xiao Chou pulled out his bat as his aura soared into the heavens. Enlin, Xiao Chou was far too understanding. Chun Nan and his allies were in an even more urgent situation upon learning of Enlin's existence. Bai Yao, Your frosty young root is mine. Chunnan roared with rage as he made a grabbing motion toward Bai Yao. A massive, corrosive palm of divine flames enshrouded Bai Yao like a net, sealing off all avenues of escape for her. In that instant, a terrifying sense of peril engulfed Bai Yao's entire body. She was completely alone and helpless, and she could only defend with all her might as she unleashed a series of ice walls in front of her. However, Chunnan's full-force attack was far more powerful than hers, and it quickly shattered the ice walls. Bai Yao's delicate body was blasted flying by the overwhelming power of the attack, and she threw up blood as she threw up a mouthful of blood. Corrosive black flames swept toward Bai Yao in hot pursuit, and heaven and earth suddenly fell into darkness. Boom! An earth-shattering boom erupted, as if something had shattered. Bai Yao! A familiar, enraged roar erupted. The black flames were suddenly shattered by a burst of immense power. Bai Yao's eyes became extremely bright. She was greeted by the sight of a peerlessly domineering monkey clad in a suit of black crystal armor and wearing a mask. He was like a peerless hero as he swept through Chunnan's spell technique with a single strike of his staff. A powerful arm then encircled around Bai Yao's waist to support her plummeting body. How could this be? Chunnan's eyes widened. He didn't even get a chance to finish his sentence before another man appeared before him, and a massive golden fist imbued with extremely terrifying power hurtled directly toward his face. The fist was far too fast for Chunnan to evade in time. The terrifying power of the earth instantly tore through his protective, true energy barrier. Boom! Chunnan's handsome features were twisted, his nose was caved in, and a few of his teeth were also broken. His body was also blasted, flying like a cannonball by the boundless power behind the fist. Countless onlookers let loose cries of surprise upon seeing this. Meanwhile, on the other side, a dazzling smile appeared on Bai Yao's face after she had been saved by the mysterious monkey. The domineering monkey had saved an exquisitely beautiful woman. All of the living beings in the creation realm gasped in amazement upon seeing this. Little monkey, I knew you would come. I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. Even though there was a bit of a mishap, I'm really happy. Bai Yao spoke with excitement as she silently removed the mask in front of her. The familiar eyes were slightly red, as if they had just been crying. The familiar nose, the familiar crooked mouth, and the familiar face, all of the living beings present drew a sharp intake of breath upon seeing the monkey mask being removed. What an ugly monkey! The monkey's image was in stark contrast to that of a domineering monkey. In particular, the contrast between him and the exquisitely beautiful Bai Yao was even more glaring to the eyes. Long time no see, little monkey. Bai Yao's smile remained unchanged as she stroked Xiao Chou with her slender hands. She raised her head and pressed her lips against Xiao Chou's right before everyone's eyes. A passionate kiss. Chapter 1005. A rain of petals fell from the sky at the wedding venue. That was a kiss that was imbued with boundless passion. All of the living beings were dumbstruck. Regardless of whether it was the Fox tribe members who were engaged in battle or the onlookers who had come to congratulate them, all of them stared blankly at the scenes unfolding before their eyes. The most beautiful princess among the younger generation of the Fox tribe had just kissed an extremely ugly monkey deeply. In that instant, it was as if everything had paled in comparison. The powerful visual impact made all of the living beings' minds go blank. And Lin, Dabai, and Tina were also dumbstruck. They had some speculations about the relationship between Xiao Chou and Bai Yao, and they all thought that Bai Yao might be in love with Xiao Chou, but they didn't think that it would be to this extent. And Lin couldn't help but recall that night at the seductive Fox house. Xiao Chou had once said that he would take off his mask, and if anyone could initiate a kiss with him, he would be with that person. However, after taking off his mask, all of the Fox tribe women fled in fear. To the Fox tribe, who were extremely sensitive to appearances, Xiao Chou's appearance was like a nuclear weapon. However, Bai Yao took off Xiao Chou's mask of her own accord before kissing him without any hesitation. From a smile on her face, it could be seen that she was serious. All of the living beings, including Lin and the others, were struck by the same thought upon seeing this. Was Bai Yao blind or something? Perhaps this is true love, and Lin murmured to himself. In terms of aptitude, Xiao Chou wasn't much inferior to Bai Yao. In terms of status, Bai Yao was the princess of the White Fox tribe. In terms of appearance, one was in heaven, while the other was in hell. However, Bai Yao had made such an astonishing choice. Only by following her heart would she be able to do something like this. Just as everyone was astonished by this scene, Hong Do suddenly came to his senses, and he stared at Lin with astonishment etched on his face. "My friend, Lin, you've been cuckolded." And Lin's woman had initiated a kiss with a monkey, and she had kissed him right in front of everyone. Hong Do felt as if he could see the boundless grassland above Lin's head. Many living beings also came to a realization upon hearing Hong Do's cry of surprise. As a result, the voices of Lin was cuckolded by a monkey continued to appear at the wedding venue. Lin almost spat out a mouthful of blood. He turned his gaze to the source of the first voice and looked at the familiar stone man. Everything that had happened before finally connected. It was him again, the rock golem Hong Do, who tricked people without batting an eyelid. "Hong Do, I'll kill you." And Lin flew into a rage and pulled out his evil slaying sword. Right at this moment, Bai Yao and Xiao Chou's kiss finally ended. Their lips slowly parted. Bai Yao looked at Xiao Chou with a mesmerizing light rippling in her eyes. Xiao Chou stared blankly at Bai Yao with tears in his eyes. "Little Yao, you haven't changed at all. You're still as beautiful as ever." A sweet smile appeared on Bai Yao's face. "You haven't changed either. You're just as ugly as before." Why did you kiss me?" I'm so ugly, and we're just friends." Xiao Chou was a little stumped. This was the first time he had been kissed by someone. He had thought that no one would ever kiss him with his looks. However, the person he loved the most, the girl who made him feel inferior, had kissed him without any hesitation. An aggrieved expression appeared on Bai Yao's face. "What do you mean we're just friends? I thought, that day, I asked you if you would mind marrying a fox as your Dao partner, and you said you didn't mind, so we fell in love. So that's not the case." Xiao Chou faltered upon hearing this, and tears began to flow from his eyes again. He recalled back to that day. The little monkey and the little fox were sitting on a tree branch, looking up at the starry night sky and chatting with each other in a carefree manner as fireflies fluttered through the air. The little fox had asked that question, and the little monkey had answered without any hesitation. However, who would have thought that both of them would fall in love at that moment? The love in this world was nothing more than a white porcelain plum soup in the middle of summer. That night was very simple and pure, but the words they had spoken and the emotions they had felt were deeply engraved in their hearts. Over 100 years had passed. The white fox and the monkey had both grown up and met again. Bai Yao was still stubbornly clinging to the feelings they had shared in the past, just like the clown's perseverance. "No, I don't mind. I love being with little Yao the most, and that has never changed." Xiao Chou held Bai Yao tightly in his arms as he spoke with passion in his voice. And Lin sighed with emotion as he looked at the two of them embracing each other. He had initially thought that Xiao Chou's concept of love was very strange and couldn't be any more fake. Only now did he discover that Bai Yao and Xiao Chou's train of thought was the same. When two creatures with strange views on love met, they could really collide and create blinding sparks. A vibrant smile finally appeared on Bai Yao's face upon hearing Xiao Chou's reply. "I've been waiting for this day, the day you come to find me. On the day of your arrival, I will wear a wedding dress and throw myself into your arms without a care for anything else. Then I will fly away with you, right before everyone's eyes." The injured Bai Yao was held in Xiao Chou's princess arms. The bride's pristine white wedding dress danced in the wind, caressing Xiao Chou's black crystal armor in an extremely natural and harmonious manner. Bai Yao was still staring at Xiao Chou with a loving gaze. This was a beautiful and meaningful scene. All of the onlookers selectively ignored Xiao Chou's appearance. On the other side, a woman was wailing as she hugged a man. "My Chen Nan, why are you disfigured? Not only are your teeth gone, but your face is also crooked. How can I love you when you're so ugly? Wah! Chun Nan roared with rage in his heart. What the hell was she talking about? Wasn't there something wrong with Lan Xiaoni's focus? She should at least feed him a regenerative spirit pill. Boom! Another violent explosion erupted. Black Fox Emperor Chun Hao released by Muyu's restraints before attacking Bai Yao. He was going to do what his son had failed to do. Things had already progressed to this point, so he had no choice but to take the Frosty Yang route. Otherwise, his son's life would be forfeit. And Lin and Tina instantly appeared before Xiao Chou at this moment. Get out of my way. Do you want to die? Chun Hao let loose an enraged roar as he launched a palm through the air. The power of the black divine Dao swept forth with mountain-toppling force, making the entire space warp and warp. And Lin summoned a black brick and placed it in front of him. After an earth-shattering collision, the black brick remained completely unscathed and remained in front of Enlin. Divine technique, divine treasure strike. Tina's sword projection pierced through space as she unleashed a top-notch divine technique that she had attained in the divine mirror world toward Chun Hao's chest. Space froze over as her sword projection fell silent, and the ringing of her sword erupted into the heavens. Chun Hao was a return to void final stage mighty figure, but he was struck by a sense of peril, and he immediately clasped his hands together before grabbing tightly onto the oncoming sword projection. His body was knocked back by the sword projection. Protect Princess Bai Yao. Bai Muyu yelled. One white fox tribe mighty figure after another sprang into action, as well as the green fox tribe and divine rock tribe mighty figures. However, the black fox tribe was not inferior in the slightest, and they had the assistance of the spirit fish clan mighty figure as well. Bai Yao did not panic in the slightest upon seeing this. Instead, she pulled out a white jade pendant with mysterious symbols engraved upon it before handing it to Xiao Chou. Xiao Chou was a little confused. This is the divine skipping talisman that I was planning to use with you after we met. Bai Yao took a deep breath before turning to Xiao Chou. Little monkey, let's elope together. Chapter 1006. Elope? Xiao Chou's entire body faltered upon hearing this. An extremely powerful surge of emotions welled up in his heart. What did it mean when a girl said something like this to you? It was an expression of extreme trust and the desire to abandon everything else in order to be with you. Little monkey, take me away from all of this and away from all of this. Let's live a good life together, all right? Bai Yao stared at Xiao Chou with flames burning in her eyes. Xiao Chou didn't even have the courage to meet Bai Yao in the past, but Bai Yao was courageously telling him that she wanted to elope with him. What a joyous and touching feeling. Xiao Chou wrapped his arms tightly around Bai Yao's waist and nodded. All right, the spatial skipping talisman in his hand was activated, and a rainbow divine light enshrouded the two of them. Crap, she's trying to get away. Chun Hao's expression shifted drastically, and he transformed into a streak of black divine light as he hurtled towards Xiao Chou and Bai Yao like a bolt of lightning. However, he was suddenly struck by a sharp pain in his lower abdomen, immediately following which an unknown liquid erupted from his bottom. Holy F *CK? Chun Hao's eyes widened. At this moment, a man with reddish-golden skin hurtled toward them before launching a fist toward them. An extremely terrifying power surged forth, and Chun Hao had no choice but to defend himself with a palm. The clash between the two instantly sent shockwaves surging for close to 10 kilometers, and Chun Hao was caught off guard and was knocked back over a kilometer. Hong Do's jaw almost fell to the ground upon seeing this. My God, is this the Enlin I know? Why was it that every time they encountered each other, Enlin's power level would increase by a whole new level? Now, he was even able to battle return to void final stage mighty figures without any external help. Ha ha! Little Do, your friend is quite powerful. He's almost on par with me. Yu Do laughed heartily after knocking back a spirit fish clan mighty figure with a single punch. Hong Do was feeling extremely conflicted. This was once an opponent who was on par with him, but now he was on par with his grandfather. This was a massive blow to his confidence. Chun Hao's attack had been interrupted by Enlin, and he lost the opportunity to continue his surprise attack on Bai Yao. In the void beside the wedding hall, the colorful brilliance suddenly became extremely dazzling, wrapping around the two people in the middle. All kinds of colors intertwined and spread in a circle, like a short-lived epifilm. The splendor of the moment was breathtaking. After the dazzling rainbow light dissipated, Xiao Qiu and Bai Yao had already disappeared on the spot. Their auras were completely untraceable, as if they didn't exist in this world in the first place. All of the living beings present, including the extremely powerful return to Void Stage mighty figures, were dumbstruck. This was the fearsomeness of the spatial skipping talisman. Even return to Void Final Stage mighty figures would be at a complete loss in the face of such a powerful spell technique. Monkey, you eloped with our princess? Oh my god, such a thing actually happened. This is too romantic. I really envy them. No, my clan's most beautiful princess actually ran away with an ugly monkey. I can't accept this. Some were envious, while others were unable to accept reality and broke down. They had never imagined that this earth-shattering farce would end in such a manner. So what if there were many tribes involved? Regardless of whether they won or lost, regardless of whether they were in the right or wrong, Bai Yao and Xiao Qiu escaped from this world, and nothing happened after that. All of the Fox tribe cultivators also stopped fighting. The main characters had run away. So what the F***CK were they supposed to fight? All of the divine rock tribe powerful beings also stopped fighting and turned to Enlin with sympathetic expressions. Enlin almost threw up a mouthful of blood. What the hell was with all of them looking at him like that? Why were they looking at him like he was some kind of environmentalist? Enlin turned to Hong Do with an enraged expression. Hong Do turned to Enlin with a confused expression. Brother, I helped you, so why are you looking at me like that? Even if your woman was abducted by your monkey, you can't blame me for that. Enlin, scammers were very infuriating. This scammer had no self-awareness after scamming someone, and that was even more infuriating. Enlin gritted his teeth and pulled out his evil slaying sword. Hong Do immediately hid behind his grandpa in fear. Yaoer, to think that you would make such a choice. Bai Muyu looked into the distance and heaved a faint sigh. That's a life-saving trump card, and it's your most precious trump card. To think that you would use it to elope with that monkey. A hint of exhaustion and sorrow appeared in Bai Muyu's eyes. She naturally recognized Xiao Qiu. In order to cure Bai Yao's frosty yang root, which was becoming more and more uncontrollable, she had taken Bai Yao to the Myriad Mountain realm in order to find a medicine that could repress Bai Yao's frosty yang root. Bai Muyu was passing by a mountain, and her heart was filled with sympathy at the sight of the monkey about to be killed, which was why she saved Xiao Qiu. In the end, seeing as her daughter didn't have any juniors to play with, she decided to use Xiao Qiu as a playmate. However, never would she have thought, now that her playmate had grown up, he had abducted her daughter. Retreat. Black Fox Emperor Chun Hao commanded. All of the Black Fox tribe powerful beings began to flee into the distance. Their target had already disappeared, so there was no point in them staying here. You want to run? You want to run away after wreaking havoc at the Green Fox tribe's imperial wedding? The return to Void Final Stage mighty figure from the Green Fox tribe stomped his foot, and three extremely terrifying formations lit up with scintillating light, instantly enshrouding the entire imperial palace. All of the living beings came to their senses only then to discover that there was another couple who had come to steal the wedding. Lan Xiaoni of the Spirit Fish clan was carrying Chun Nan, who had been severely wounded by Enlin's punch, in her arms as she hurriedly retreated. She had cried enough and had no choice but to face reality. Chun Nan, whose face had been smashed flat, should be able to recover his handsome face after consuming a healing immortal pill. Second uncle, Heavenly Priest, come and help me. Lan Xiaoni hurtled toward the Imperial Palace's spell formation atop her semi-transparent bubble like a cannonball. The mighty figures of the Spirit Fish clan had obviously come prepared for this. They pulled out their black and white spears at the same time before stabbing a massive hole into a certain direction within the spell formation. The Black Fox tribe powerful beings immediately rushed toward that direction upon seeing the hole. The Spirit Fish clan also retreated as they fought. All of them were returned to void final stage mighty figures, and unless they really wanted to kill each other, it would be very difficult to trap them. In the end, Lan Xiaoni also succeeded in stealing the wedding, as she escaped from Qinghu City with Chun Nan in her arms. Even though the White Fox Tribe and Green Fox Tribe hated the Black Fox Tribe and the Spirit Fish clan, they weren't really going to risk their lives over this. And Lin heaved a forlorn sigh as he looked on at his enemies fleeing into the distance. It's finally come to an end. After this wedding, my heart is about to explode. He had only wanted to watch the wedding in peace before drinking with Xiao Cho to drown his sorrows. Who would have thought that he would encounter 2 weddings at the wedding? The groom had attempted to steal the bride's frosty young root, while the bride and Xiao Cho had publicly abused each other, and in the end, Xiao Cho had eloped with the bride. One unforeseen event followed another. What was most infuriating to Enlin was that Hong Do had misled everyone into thinking that he had been cuckolded. Enlin had been cuckolded. Enlin had been cuckolded my ***. Chapter 1007. Enlin couldn't help but glare at Hong Do with rage at the thought of being cuckolded. His killing intent radiated outward like a substantial wave. Hong Do knew that Enlin was serious. He really did want to kill him. He had no choice but to hide behind his grandpa. This wedding that had attracted the attention of the entire creation realm drew to a conclusion in an extremely peculiar manner. No one could have predicted that things would turn out like this, including the central figures of this event, Chun Nan and Bai Yao. Who would have thought that things would turn out like this? Both the bride and groom had been kidnapped, leaving behind a large group of guests who were still trying to sort out their opinions. Bai Muyu stepped through the air and made her way over to Enlin with a gentle expression on her face. She hadn't unleashed any seduction techniques, but Enlin's heart still trembled at the sight of her, and he almost lost himself in her beauty. This was a natural seduction technique. Every single one of her movements resonated with heaven and earth. Of course, the Fox tribe didn't view this as seduction. Perhaps this was a difference in aesthetic standards. Even though their movements were extremely seductive, they viewed this as beauty. Only beauty could seduce people. And Lin looked at the beautiful woman before him. Her brows were as dark as ink, and her eyes were rippling like ripples of water, giving her a natural and pitiable appearance. He couldn't help but exclaim in his heart, "What a powerful being!" Dabai couldn't take his eyes off her, and he stared intently at her with his large, round eyes. "You're sect leader and Lin of the 4-9 Immortal sect, right? Thank you for saving my daughter's life." Bai Muyu extended a slight curtsy in a seductive manner. Thankfully, and Lin had seen his fair share of supreme-grade beauties, so he was able to keep his composure and join his hands in a salute with a smile. "There's no need to thank me. We're going to be in-laws from now on." Bai Muyu, a faint smile appeared on the vixen's face, but she didn't say anything. How could she be so shameless and direct? Did she even ask for my opinion? At this moment, many more Fox tribe cultivators gathered around them, and most of them were looking at them with hostile expressions. It was quite clear that Enlin and the others had become the center of attention. This kind of focus did not seem to be glorious. After all, his men had eloped with the princess of the White Fox clan. In a sense, they were here to crash the wedding, just like Lan Xiaoni and the others. The only difference between them and Lan Xiaoni was that they had saved Bai Yao's life. This was also the reason why Enlin and the others could continue to shamelessly stay here. As a matter of fact, Enlin was thinking about how to resolve the dispute peacefully and then take the opportunity to become in-laws with the White Fox clan. My daughter didn't pick up her voice transmission talisman. Can you contact your friends so we can go and pick them up together? Bai Muyu asked with a warm and enchanting smile. The fact that her daughter didn't pick up her mother's call was quite heartbreaking. That's a good idea. And Lin nodded. He was also quite worried about the clown, so he took out his voice transmission talisman and tried to contact the clown. A few minutes later, he called several times, but no one picked up. And Lin, how could he not give him any face? He was going to be humiliated. Perhaps the clown and Bai Yao are doing something. Let's not disturb them, woof. Dabai's lips curled into a knowing smile. All of the White Fox clan cultivators instantly exploded with rage upon hearing this. F*CKU. Hurry up and beat this Dabai dog to death. Wah, is my goddess Bai really going to be defiled by a monkey? I hate it. Dabai dog is spouting nonsense. Don't stop me. I'm going to kill him. I want to eat dog meat tonight. All of the White Fox clan cultivators roared with righteous indignation. Dabai hid behind Enlin in fear, unsure of what he had said. Bai Muyu did her best to maintain a smile. Mr. Enlin, I'll be sending people to find my daughter. There are some important matters that we need to discuss later tonight. No problem. Enlin also wore a distressed expression. I hope they're doing well. In reality, he was actually quite complimentary in his heart. Nice job, Xiaoqiu. Hurry up and seize the opportunity. What's done cannot be undone. If we do that, we'll definitely get married. The White Fox handed a badge to Enlin. This is the pass to the White Fox Imperial Palace. I'll send people to search for my daughter. See you tonight. The White Fox bade farewell to Enlin and the others as she spoke. Enlin and the others weren't in a hurry. In fact, they were hoping that the White Fox would find Xiaoqiu sooner. Their people were pigs that dug cabbages. Their mentality was completely different. Jine and Lin, Xiaoqiu is so awesome. To think that a beautiful girl like Bai Yao would fall in love with him. How'd he do it? Tina was a little surprised, and Lin fell silent for a moment before speculating. Perhaps there's some kind of law of nature involved. What law of nature? Tina cocked her head to the side. The law of nature is that when the most beautiful and the ugliest clash, they form a harmonious and complementary relationship. This is the perfect embodiment of yin and yang. And at the same time, it can create the most powerful sparks through the intense contrast between the two. And Lin replied with a serious expression. Tina, Jine and Lin, I'm very touched by your bullish *T. And Lin, astonishment. My little Na is so smart. All of a sudden, a powerful voice sounded from behind him. Mr. Lin, you really are a young hero. I've heard all about you, so please don't be too sad. And Lin turned around with a dark expression and saw a rock golem with golden flames burning on its chest. He pursed his lips. What have you heard about me? My grandson, Hongdo, has told me everything. You and Bai Yao fell in love and tried to kidnap her, only to be rescued by one of your own people. In the end, Bai Yao fell in love with Monkey, and the two of them have been apart ever since. Sigh, my condolences. The rock golem consoled with a sympathetic expression. All of the divine rock tribe subordinates were also discussing among themselves. Wah, what a sad and touching story. And Lin's lips twitched upon hearing this. What was the sad and touching story? And Lin is so pitiful. We should comfort him and let him get over it. We can't force him to do something like this. And Lin took a deep breath before a smile appeared on his face. You're Senior Yudo, right? Oh, you know me? The rock golem was surprised. Of course. I've heard a lot about you, Senior. I'm very good friends with Hongdo, so would you mind giving me some time to chat with him? And Lin asked with a smile. Hongdo was suddenly struck by a sense of foreboding. Haha, of course. You juniors have a lot to talk about, so I won't disturb you any longer. Yudo chuckled heartily before departing. Hongdo's body shuddered as he gave chase. Don't go, Grandpa. I'll go with you. A serious expression appeared on Yudo's face. How can you be so immature? Sect leader Enlin is a cultivator with a limitless future ahead of him. Why are you following him instead of building a good relationship with him? Go back. Enlin smiled. That's right, Brother Hongdo. We're here to build a good relationship with him. So why are you running away? Hongdo was on the verge of tears. This wasn't building a good relationship. He was definitely going to be screwed over. He was now absolutely certain that Enlin was plotting something against him. Hongdo's grandfather still left under Hongdo's pleading eyes. Hongdo turned to Enlin and forced a smile onto his face, but his body trembled slightly as his flaming heart thumped in his chest. Brother Enlin, long time no see. Enlin put on a fake smile. Hongdo, I really have to thank you. Hongdo felt like there was hope for him upon hearing this, and he immediately patted his chest. Brother Enlin, we're friends, so it's my duty to help you. Enlin nodded. I still have to thank you. Electric therapy or fire therapy, make your choice. Hongdo. Chapter 1008. Hongdo's flames dimmed slightly, and he exclaimed in shock and horror, Brother Enlin, what do you mean by this? Electric therapy? Fire therapy? We're not injured. I don't need any treatment. Enlin shook his head. I think there's something wrong with you. I'm clearly fine. What do you think? Hongdo was unconvinced. Enlin chuckled coldly. There's something wrong with your brain. Hongdo, boom! Lightning crackled as divine flames surged. An area with a radius of several hundred meters was instantly engulfed by Hongdo's blood-curdling cries. Thump, 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 bang, 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 clatter, 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 clatter. Puff, puff, puff. Yudo had already walked quite a distance away, and he was quite elated to see what had just transpired. My grandson and Enlin are so close. They've only just met, and they're already sparring with one another. If Hongdo were to hear this, he would probably burst into tears. This wasn't a sparring match. This was a one-sided abuse. His grandson was being pummeled, and he was calling it a kindness? Did he get kicked in the head by a donkey? 3 minutes later, Enlin stopped and panted heavily after having his fill of bashing. Hongdo lay on the ground with bruises all over his face, and his body was in an extremely sorry state. He was extremely depressed. Thinking back, he had once battled Enlin and been imprisoned with him, but now he had become a one-sided punching bag. Hongdo, do you know what you did wrong? Enlin looked down from above with a cold smile. Tears welled up in Hongdo's eyes, and he thought about it for a moment before his eyes suddenly lit up. I shouldn't have brought up the fact that you were cuckolded by Bai Yao. Enlin thump, 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 bang, bang, bang. Clatter, 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 clatter. Puff, puff, puff. Hongdo had been beaten to a pulp. He didn't want such a useless teammate. In the end, Enlin gave Hongdo a thorough explanation of what had happened. Hongdo was astonished. So that's what happened. Why didn't you tell me earlier? I got beaten up twice for nothing. Enlin chuckled coldly. I overestimated your intelligence. Hongdo wanted to lash out at Enlin in rage, but the thought of Enlin's terrifying power forced him to give up on that thought. The river flows east for 30 years, and the river flows west for 30 years. Don't bully the poor. Enlin couldn't be bothered with Hongdo, and he immediately contacted Qing, who to clarify the situation. Otherwise, he would never be able to get rid of this cuckold. The guests suddenly realized that Enlin hadn't been cuckolded. After dealing with these trivial matters, the sun had gradually set. Originally, the highlight of the wedding would only be at night. There would be all kinds of fireworks and immortal spells covering the entire city, and everyone would be celebrating. Now that the bride and groom had run away with someone else, the main event was naturally left unsettled. They couldn't possibly continue celebrating, right? The Fox clan could not afford to lose that face. Just like that, the group of living beings from afar gathered together and watched the Fox maidens sing and dance. The night passed just like that. In reality, these performances had already become boring to all of the living beings. The show had already concluded during the day, and the plot was 100 times more exciting than they had anticipated. It was full of twists and turns, thrilling and unforgettable. What a worthwhile trip. It's not just a worthwhile trip, it's a massive profit. None of the stories in the Tai Chu Chronicle are as interesting as this. For some reason, I like Princess Bai Yao and the Ugly Monkey the most. Me too. Not taking into account anything else, just that kiss alone is enough to tell me that they're truly in love. I heard that the Ugly Monkey is an elder of the 4-9 Immortal sect, and Enlin came here to help his beast pet. Who would have thought that I would see the Lord of Transcendence in person here? I thought that Enlin had been cuckolded. I was so excited for nothing. At the banquet, all of the representatives from the major sects gathered together to discuss spiritedly. It was quite clear that the main topic of discussion was centered around Bai Yao and Xiao Chou. After all, they were the ones who shocked everyone the most. It was like a beauty and a beast, and it was very easy to provoke them. As for Lan Xiaoni and Chun Nan, there were also people discussing them, but most of them were discussing the relationship between the Spirit Fish clan and the Fox tribe. The internal strife within the Fox tribe was definitely going to intensify because of this. Enlin Tina, and Dabai strolled around the White Fox Tribe Imperial Palace with badges in their hands. This stroll was different from last time. It was a lot more open and above board. His mood was also different, and Lin looked at the Imperial Palace as if it were his family's property. Oi, oi, oi. I'm talking to you, beautiful little male fox. You move this tree away. The location of this tree doesn't conform to the principle of vital energy balance. And Lin gestured with his hands. A delicate white fox's eyes widened. Human, who are you? And Lin puffed out his chest with his head held high. My beast pet is going to marry your second princess. Who do you think I am? The little male fox was astonished. It's you, the man who almost got cuckolded. Dabai and Tina couldn't help but burst into laughter. And Lin was in despair. What the F***CK did he mean by almost got cuckolded? That wasn't even the same thing. There was no such thing. He was so enraged that he wanted to hammer Hongdo again. F***CK. His reputation had been completely ruined by Hongdo. After learning of Lin's identity, the little male fox obediently moved the tree away. Even though he had some misconceptions about Lin, that didn't diminish the respect he had for Lin. And Lin continued onward with a gloomy expression before entering a relatively large palace. Bai Muyu was already inside the palace, and she immediately stood up to welcome Lin and the others. The White Fox tribe was very powerful, but the 4-9 Immortal sect was no slouch either. There were even rumors that sect leader Lin had single-handedly battled the Dragon King and the most powerful being of the Dragon Court of the Eastern Seas over a certain spirit mine. It was exactly because of this that Bai Muyu, as the leader of the White Fox tribe, didn't put on airs and treated Lin like an equal. Sect leader Lin, have you received any news about my daughter? Bai Muyu asked in an urgent voice, and Lin shook his head with a disappointed expression. After you left, I tried to contact Xiao Cho a few more voice transmission talismans, but no one picked up. In reality, he didn't call any of them in fear of interrupting Xiao Cho's romantic night. Bai Muyu's brows furrowed slightly with a dejected expression. It was quite clear that she really was a little anxious. Don't worry, they're still young, so they have to let themselves go. They'll come back when they've thought things through, and Lin consoled. Bai Muyu glared at Lin. I haven't agreed to this yet, have I? And Lin chuckled sheepishly. He didn't dare to push his luck. He was only testing this beautiful big sister of his. From the current situation, it appeared that she was quite a good-tempered person. Bai Muyu heaved a forlorn sigh and shook her head before sitting back down in her chair. What's wrong? You're not really worried that they won't come back, are you? And Lin was a little perplexed as to why she was so anxious. Sigh. There's no point in hiding anything now. Bai Muyu heaved a forlorn sigh as she looked at Lin and the others. In my daughter's current condition, without Chun Nan's help, she won't be able to live past a month. Chapter 1009. Xiao Cho held Bai Yao in his arms before activating his spatial skipping talisman, upon which he was teleported to a certain mountain range. Xiao Cho looked around at his unfamiliar surroundings with a confused expression. This is a random location over 50,000 kilometers away from Qinghu City. There are no Dao integration stage super mighty figures present, so no one would be able to track us down. Hence, no one knows where we are. Bai Yao leaped for joy like a little girl with Xiao Cho in her arms. Little monkey, we're finally together again. Xiao Cho also gave Bai Yao an elated hug. I've fantasized many times about when we would meet again, but I didn't think that you wouldn't find me ugly in the slightest. A vibrant smile appeared on Bai Yao's face as she said in a seductive voice, That's because I've already gotten used to seeing you when I was a child. You haven't really changed much even though you've grown up. It's just that your ugliness has been magnified a little. Xiao Cho, what a strange feeling. He didn't feel any disgust toward Bai Yao calling him ugly in the slightest. Instead, there was a very warm feeling in his heart. By the way, give me your voice transmission talisman. Bai Yao extended a delicate hand. Xiao Cho didn't know what was going on, but he still passed the voice transmission talisman to her. Bai Yao stowed the voice transmission talisman away into her storage ring before unleashing an isolation spell technique. Xiao Cho was dumbstruck. What was she doing? Bai Yao held onto Xiao Chao's hand with a smile. All right, no one will be able to disturb us from now on. Let's enjoy our time together. Is that necessary? A smile appeared on Xiao Chao's face, but he didn't have any objections. If she wanted to do this, then so be it. Of course, at the very least, let me enjoy my time together for a month. A vibrant smile appeared on Bai Yao's face, and she was in a very good mood. Do you know, I've been waiting for this day for a long time. Even before the wedding, I had been looking forward to seeing you again on the day of the wedding. In the eyes of others, I'm a devastatingly beautiful woman. They try their best to curry favor with me, praise me, or get close to me, which I'm not used to. Only you look at me with such a pure and natural expression in your eyes, making me feel like I'm still the adorable little fox that I once was. The clown scratched his head in embarrassment. Actually, he wasn't particularly sensitive to the beauty of humans. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to maintain his composure like a stone monkey amidst a group of beauties from the fox race. However, the way he looked at Bai Yao was different. The woman in front of him, no matter how he looked at her, was so beautiful and so amiable that he couldn't help but get close to her. Just like that, they lived together and watched the moon rise and the sun set. Even if it was just an ordinary time, they would still feel very happy. Now that he thought about it, Bai Yao must have been looking forward to seeing him again on the day of their wedding. Xiao Chou was very glad that he didn't give up and chose to attend the wedding. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had the chance to be with Bai Yao. Sometimes, remorse and happiness were separated by a single thought. With a shake of its body, the white fox transformed into a beautiful white fox with snow-white fur and 4 tails. She skipped ahead, turned around, and said excitedly, "Let's go, little monkey. Let's find a place with a better view and make it our new home." Sure. An elated smile appeared on Xiao Chao's face as he followed behind Bai Yao. The little white fox ran happily ahead of Xiao Chou, and little monkey trailed along behind it. They were both looking forward to what they were going to see next. Time seemed to have returned to the past. Bai Yao dug a cave into the cliff face of a spirit mountain to make it their home. She knew that Xiao Chou loved to watch the sun rise and set, as well as the stars and the moon. As such, she decided to accompany Xiao Chou and choose the best location for their home. Digging a cave into the cliff face not only allowed them to see the entire sky and the entire horizon, but was also a very small space, so they could snuggle up against each other for warmth. That's right, this was the feeling of home. Thus, Xiao Chou and Bai Yao began to live a peaceful life. Bai Yao accompanied Xiao Chou to watch the sun rise and set, as well as the silver moon and the countless stars in the night sky. Xiao Chou went to pick fruits and catch fish with Bai Yao, and they're going to roast fish for dinner at night. Their lives were as mundane as water without any ups and downs, but both of them really liked this feeling. It was like the time when they were young, carefree, and they didn't have to think too much. All that mattered was that they were together. Perhaps this was the kind of happiness that they were pursuing. Time passed by, and everything was peaceful. Regardless of whether they were beautiful or ugly, they would get used to it after a long time. The only thing that could keep them together was not their looks, but something more intrinsic. "Little Yao, this is for you. I think you'll look really good wearing it." Xiao Chou pulled out an intricate floral wreath from behind him with a shy expression. This floral wreath was something that Xiao Chou and Bai Yao had gathered along the way as they strolled through the mountains. Bai Yao stared blankly at the vibrant floral wreath before her, and tears welled up in her eyes as tears began to flow from her eyes. "Little monkey, help me," Bai Yao said in a gentle voice. All right, Xiao Chou felt like Bai Yao was even more emotional than he was recently, but he didn't think too much of it and silently placed the floral wreath on Bai Yao's head. "Is it beautiful?" Bai Yao raised her head, and Xiao Chou's face was reflected in her clear eyes. Tears were still welling up in her eyes, and they shimmered under the light of the sun. Xiao Chou nodded with a hint of sympathy in his eyes. "It's so beautiful. Don't cry anymore. Aren't you happy that I gave you a floral wreath?" "What? Can't I be moved to tears?" Bai Yao glowered at Xiao Chou. Her eyes were filled with seduction, and if anyone else were to see them, they would be completely mesmerized. Unfortunately, Xiao Chou was as stable as a stone monkey. Perhaps just as Bai Yao was used to Xiao Chou's ugliness, Xiao Chou was also used to Bai Yao's beauty. The two of them leaned against a cave on a cliff and looked down at the place where the sun had set. The afterglow of the setting sun cast a dim yellow hue over the endless mountain range. Bai Yao had her arms wrapped around Xiao Chou's arm, and her snowy white tail swayed gently behind her. The floral wreath was still on her head. Even though the two of them didn't say anything, they were still in love with each other, and even if they didn't say anything, they were still very close. Little monkey, is Xiao Chou your new name? After a long silence, Bai Yao suddenly asked in a soft voice. That's right. Big brother and came up with this name for me. He said he thought I was ugly, so it was a very fitting name. A gentle smile appeared on Xiao Chou's face. Bai Yao stared blankly into Xiao Chou's eyes. This was the first time he had ever smiled so warmly while talking about someone else. Little monkey, you really do have a very good friend. Bai Yao smiled. That's right. Big brother is such a good person, and he'll always share everything with us. For example, during your wedding, he was willing to take a huge risk to help me snatch the wedding. Xiao Chou was becoming more and more talkative as he talked about Enlin. Bai Yao tightened her arms around Xiao Chou's arm, and the light of the setting sun reflected in her eyes as she murmured to herself, "This is great. Xiao Chou won't be lonely anymore." What did you say? Xiao Chou was perplexed. No, nothing. Bai Yao shook her head relentlessly. Xiao Chou's brows furrowed. He felt like things weren't as simple as they seemed. A gentle smile appeared on Bai Yao's face as she looked at Xiao Chou. Perhaps losing control of the frosty yang root was her fate. She wasn't going to become Chen Nan's Dao partner just to survive. She would rather spend the last moments of her life with the person she loved. That's right. She had been very happy during this period of time. She had no regrets in this life. Xiao Chou, look. The light in the sky is so beautiful. It is. It's so beautiful. Xiao Chou looked up at the pink and golden light in the sky, and an involuntary smile appeared on his face. Bai Yao stared at Xiao Chou's face as if she wanted to engrave his features into her mind. Xiao Chou, I'm tired. I want to sleep. Go ahead. I'll wait for you to wake up. All right. Bai Yao leaned against Xiao Chou's chest and closed her eyes with a smile as a single tear flowed from the corner of her eye. The sun set behind the mountain ranges, and the light in the sky gradually faded. Only the two of them were still snuggled up against each other, and their bodies were slowly elongated into one. Chapter 10:10. Bai Yao was still unconscious. Aside from her breathing, her vital signs were gradually becoming weaker and weaker. A terrifying thought welled up in Xiao Chou's mind. Xiao Chou held Bai Yao in his arms and yelled her name over and over again, but there was no response. Little Yao, don't scare me. Wake up. Xiao Chou's body trembled with fear as he held the woman in his arms. He almost had a mental breakdown. Just as his heart was filled with despair, he suddenly thought of a certain person. That person was able to create miracles even in the face of despair. Xiao Chou hurriedly refined Bai Yao's storage ring and pulled out his voice transmission talisman in an attempt to contact that person. To his surprise, the voice transmission talisman was instantly picked up. Hey, big brother and I... Xiao Chou was at a loss for words. Cut the crap. Where are you and Bai Yao? I'll come and find you right away. Enlin's voice sounded in a crisp and urgent manner. An indescribable sense of warmth and hope welled up in Xiao Chou's heart, and he immediately relayed his location to Enlin. Little Yao, you'll be fine. Big brother is here, and he's very powerful. He'll definitely be able to save you. Xiao Chou held the woman in his arms as he prayed to himself. He had never felt so helpless before, and he hated his own powerlessness as much as he did right now. Not long after that, a spatial rift began to appear in the air nearby. Enlin emerged from the spatial passageway with Dabai and Tina beside him. There was also a figure that Xiao Chou was extremely familiar with. It was Bai Yao's mother, Bai Muyu. Bai Muyu stepped forward and made her way over to Xiao Chou. She pulled Bai Yao away from Xiao Chou's arms before unleashing a spell technique to carefully assess Bai Yao's condition. How is she? Enlin also flew over to Xiao Chou with an urgent expression. Bai Muyu wore a solemn expression and didn't say anything. She placed a slender finger on Bai Yao's glabella, upon which countless golden symbols flowed from her finger into Bai Yao's head. Everyone looked on in silence, not daring to disturb her. Xiao Chou stared intently at Bai Yao's face, praying that she would wake up. Moments later, the golden symbols disappeared. Fine beads of sweat appeared on Bai Muyu's face as she panted heavily. Little Yao still has 3 days to live. We have to capture Chen Nan within 3 days. Bai Muyu spoke with a grave expression before glaring at Xiao Chou. The clown shrunk back, feeling a rare sense of guilt. However, he still asked anxiously, "Will little Yao be saved if we capture Chen Nan?" "That's right," Bai Muyu said in a firm voice. "Let Yao, or marry him and perform the deed between a man and a woman. Their powers will intercourse, and their yin and yang auras will fuse together. That way, Yao Er's frosty yang root will be suppressed." The scene suddenly fell silent. These words were like a bolt of lightning striking the clown's mind, causing his entire body to tremble. Even Lin, Tina, and Dabai were dumbstruck. What the F***CK? Chen Nanxing would be able to save Bai Yao? What a joke. But that seemed to explain the ridiculous wedding. I've been sending people to track down Chen Nan for the past few days, and we've discovered that he has already arrived at the Sea Heart Palace of the West Sea. We don't have much time left. Bai Muyu took a deep breath before turning to Lin and the others. "Aside from that, I'm still lacking power, and I need your help." Everyone fell deathly silent. "No, we can't go." The clown clenched his fists tightly as he roared in a low voice. Bai Muyu's eyes widened with incredulity as she stared at the clown. "Are you insane? In order to prevent Bai Yao from getting married, you're going to watch her die? You dare to say you love her?" The clown looked at the sleeping Bai Yao with tears flowing from his bulb-like eyes as he shook his head vigorously. "No, I know her. If she really marries Chen Nan, her life will be more painful than death." This was actually why Bai Yao had waited for the clown at the wedding before eloping with him. She would rather live a free life for a month than stay there. "You!" Bai Muyu's chest rose and fell as she panted heavily with rage. The clown raised his head stubbornly, but tears were still flowing from his eyes. Perhaps this was the difference in opinion between the clown and his mother-in-law. The emotional clown had chosen the path that Bai Yao had chosen. He didn't want to hand Bai Yao over to someone else for the sake of the man he loved, even if that price was death. He felt like that would only make Bai Yao feel even more pain. "Don't be angry. Let's calm down first. Perhaps there's another way." Lin immediately intervened. Arguing at a time like this was not going to solve any problems. "What other way is there? This is the only way." Bai Muyu clenched her fists with an enraged expression. Little Yao's frosty yang root is an extremely rare frosty yang spirit root. The power of that spirit root is becoming more and more fearsome, and it has already reached a point where it can no longer be repressed. Only a pure yin-type divine flame can neutralize Little Yao's power. I've waited for so long before I finally found Chen Nan. Without Chen Nan's dark corrosion divine flame, how am I going to save Little Yao? Can you do it? Bai Muyu became more and more agitated as she spoke, and tears shimmered in her eyes. During the past 100 years, her relationship with her daughter had deteriorated further and further due to this incident. However, as a mother, how could she just stand by and watch her daughter die? Even if she had to marry her daughter to someone she didn't like, she wouldn't hesitate as long as she could save her daughter's life. Xiao Chou spoke in a slow voice. "You what? You can save Little Yao? If you don't want to cooperate with me, then I'll find another way." Bai Muyu turned to leave with Bai Yao in her arms. "I'm saying that I might be able to save Little Yao," Xiao Chou said in an urgent voice. Bai Muyu's footsteps faltered, and she turned around. At this moment, black flames suddenly erupted from Xiao Chou's hands. The scorching temperatures of the flames were imbued with an abyssal darkness. He spoke. "You said that only a pure yin-type divine flame can neutralize Little Yao's power. My divine flame seems to also be a pure yin-type divine flame." Bai Muyu stared blankly at the divine flame in Xiao Chou's hands, and she was unable to avert her eyes. She had even forgotten the humiliation of being slapped in the face as soon as she spoke. Divine flame? This really is an Een-type divine flame. Bai Muyu murmured. Does that mean Big Brother Cho can marry Bai Yao and have sex with her? Woof. Bai's eyes lit up with excitement. Bai Muyu. A rare blush appeared on Xiao Chao's face upon hearing this. As long as I can save little Yao, I'm willing to do anything. Bai Muyu gritted her teeth. What the hell was with this line? There were countless living beings in this world who were in love with Bai Yao, but Xiao Cho was acting like he was being wronged? And Lin chimed in with a smile. Bai Yao and Xiao Cho are in love with each other, and Xiao Cho just so happens to possess a divine flame that can neutralize the power within Bai Yao's body. Perhaps this is fate. This should be a match made in heaven. Ms. Bai Muyu, in my opinion, we should hold the wedding as soon as possible. These words were reasonable and flawless. There was no fault to be found at all. And Lin added with a smile, pure Een-type divine flames are extremely rare in this world. Do you want your daughter to marry a man who tried to kill her in the past? That was a devastating blow to Xiao Cho. Bai Muyu, who was on the verge of losing her mind, finally came to her senses. And Lin wasn't going to tell her that he also possessed a divine flame of pure Een-type. After all, as his master, he had to think about Xiao Chao's happiness. Should he learn more about the setting moon flame? Bai Muyu turned her eyes toward the extraordinarily ugly monkey and fell into silence. Could it be? Was he really going to marry his beautiful daughter to this ugly monkey? Chapter 10:11. Bai Muyu looked at Xiao Cho, and for some reason, the image of the pitiful and helpless little monkey who had almost been swallowed by the black leopard appeared in her mind. She had only saved the little monkey out of convenience. Never would she have thought that the little monkey would become her daughter's love interest, and there was a very good chance that he would become her son-in-law. This didn't make any sense. She clearly felt that Xiao Cho was ugly, which was why she allowed her daughter to play with him. After all, there was no way that her daughter would fall in love with an ugly freak, right? That would make it very safe. But how did she fall in love with him? Bai Muyu felt like the world was playing a prank on her. Xiao Chao's divine flame was the core inheritance of the Purple Star Research Institute, the Dark God. Back when he was still at the spirit-nurturing stage, the purity of his divine flame had already reached the divine flame level. He was now at the soul formation intermediate stage, and his Een-type divine flame had become even purer as his cultivation base progressed, so he didn't have to worry about it not being compatible. In terms of divine flames, Xiao Chao's divine flame was even more suitable than Shun Nan's. In law, Bai Yao's health is deteriorating. Let's hurry up and hold the wedding. Just as Bai Muyu was deep in thought, and Lin struck while the iron was hot. A conflicted expression appeared on Bai Muyu's face as she glowered at Lin, who was trying his best to repress the joy in his heart. She then turned to look at Xiao Cho. Xiao Chao's body stiffened as he sensed his mother-in-law's gaze, and he silently stood up straight, as if he were being inspected by his superior. His serious expression made his ugly appearance appear a little more dignified. Bai Muyu massaged her brows. All right, even though he's a little ugly, he was born this way, so it's not your fault. Seeing as you two are in love, I won't be so old-fashioned as to break you up. I agree. Silence ensued within the cave. Immediately afterward, a burst of raucous cheers erupted. Tears that looked like pearls shot out of the clown's light bulb-like eyes as he shouted, Mom! Bai Muyu's lips twitched. I don't have a son as ugly as you. Xiao Cho, in-law, give me a hug. And Lin shamelessly spread open his arms in an attempt to embrace the exquisitely beautiful vixen before him. F*CK off. Bai Muyu harumphed coldly as she launched a palm toward Lin, sending him flying for several kilometers. Xiao Cho and Bai drew a sharp intake of breath. If this slap landed on their bodies, it would definitely turn them into ashes. In the westernmost part of the Tai Chu continent, this was a boundless ocean, which was called the West Sea by all living beings. The West Sea was one of the most perilous regions on the Tai Chu continent. There were tens of thousands of different types of sea monsters, and there were countless powerful demonic beasts among them. If one didn't possess a certain level of power, they wouldn't even know how they died here. There were two most prominent tribes in the West Sea, and they were the Spirit Fish Clan and the Heavenly Turtle Tribe. The Spirit Fish Clan occupied the Hongmeng divine altar in the depths of the sea and ruled over countless living beings of the West Sea. The Heavenly Turtle Tribe could divine heaven and earth and lived in a secluded area, but no living beings dared to provoke them. Meanwhile, in a side hall of the Sea Heart Palace near the Hongmeng divine altar, a handsome man was leisurely tasting the green wine. It was a fine wine brewed from the yin energy of the deep sea. It had the effect of refreshing the mind and beautifying the skin. Shannan, are you sure you're all right? It's been so long, and there's still no news from that *TCH by Yao. Can your body handle it? A woman with a blue tail asked with furrowed brows. Don't worry, Bai Yao's condition is far more severe than mine, and she's on the brink of death. I'm sure it won't be long before they come to me in person and beg me to marry Bai Yao. Chunnan swirled the green wine in his hand with a triumphant smile on his face. His dark corrosion divine flame was becoming more and more difficult to control, but it wasn't completely out of control yet. On the other hand, Bai Yao didn't have much time left. Bai Muyu's feelings for Bai Yao were enough to convince him that Bai Muyu would bring Bai Yao to find him. Lan Xiaoni harumphed coldly. Looks like that *TCH has taken advantage of me. Let me make this clear. She can only be a concubine, and you can't spoil her. Don't worry. A faint smile appeared on Chunan's face. She's not even 1/10,000th of you to me. She's just a piece of rag that I can throw away after using. Lan Xiaoni blushed upon hearing this, and she stared at the handsome man before her with a tender expression. A gentle smile also appeared on Chunan's face as he made his way toward Lan Xiaoni. He had gone to great lengths to convince Lan Xiaoni to accept Bai Yao as his concubine. When the time came, he would have the mermaid princess in his left hand and the #1 beauty of the fox tribe in his right. Wouldn't that be a wonderful life? To be honest, he hadn't even touched Lan Xiaoni yet. The Spirit Fish Clan Imperial family had very strict rules, and they could only do anything after marriage. So he should take this opportunity to, right at this moment. A golden lobster hurriedly rushed into the room. Big, 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 big. Someone bad news. Chun Nin glowered at the golden lobster with an enraged expression. What's going on? Spit it out if you have something to say. I've just received urgent news that Bai Yao the White Fox Tribe is going to hold another wedding in a day. She's marrying an elder of the 4-9 immortal sect, Xiao Chou. The golden lobster yelled. Bam! The crisp sound of glass shattering erupted. The wine cup in Chun Nan's hand clattered to the ground, and the wine in the cup splattered everywhere. He abruptly stood up, and an intimidating aura erupted from his body. Bai Yao, 4-9 immortal sect? Good, very good. Creation realm, Qinghu City. The Fox Tribe had only been up for less than a month, and they were once again doing so. This time, they were marrying Bai Yao of the White Fox Tribe and Xiao Chou of the 4-9 immortal sect. The earth-shattering kiss between the #1 beauty of the Fox Tribe and the ugly monkey was well known to all living beings. Their story was passed down from generation to generation, and it gradually took on the color of myths and legends. Some stories said that Bai Yao was stranded in the Myriad Mountain realm and spent all her time with a stone monkey. The stone monkey gave birth to a spirit, and the two of them fell in love with each other. Others said that in order to differentiate between beauty and ugliness, the heavens created two living beings chosen by the heavens. When they were together, the world was able to experience what was beautiful and what was ugly. They were destined to be together. Only Xiao Chou was worthy of the most beautiful being. There were many other versions of the story, and all of these stories were passed down from generation to generation by word of mouth by a mysterious hand. It was exactly because of this that when the living beings in the creation realm heard that Bai Yao and Xiao Chou were going to get married, they didn't feel much resistance. In fact, many living beings even offered their most sincere blessings. When such a magical couple got together, it was definitely true love. The wedding was to be held within the White Fox Tribe's imperial palace. If it weren't for the fact that time was of the essence, he would definitely have gotten Xiao Chou to come to the 4-9 immortal sect. However, Bayao didn't have any time now, so she could only hold the wedding at the White Fox Imperial Palace. Bayao had already awakened after drinking Xiao Chao's blood essence, and they would be able to consummate their marriage after the wedding. When that time came, the issue of her frosty yang root would be cured. The next day, the much-anticipated wedding took place, as scheduled. Chapter 10:12. The clown gazed at the rising sun, his heart filled with excitement. Never would he have thought that this trip to Qinghu City would become a wedding between him and Bayao. It was like a dream. The love that seemed incomprehensible to the world could actually receive so many blessings at this moment, which was also unexpected to him. Thank fate. He thanked Bayao for her love. Thank you, Big Brother and his friends for your hard work. The emotional clown silently thanked Enlin, Dabai, and the others in his heart. Clown, what are you thinking about? A gentle and clear voice sounded. The clown turned his head and saw a beautiful woman slowly walking over. I was thinking, you said you wanted to have a good sleep. That sleep scared me to death. The clown smiled. The woman's jade-like face blushed slightly, and she lowered her head in embarrassment. I was afraid that you would be too sad. I won't let you leave me again. Xiaoqiu looked at Bayao with a serious expression. After tonight, your illness will be cured, and you can come back to the 4-9 Immortal Sect with me. Bayao nodded with a faint I'm a little scared that Chun Nan and the others will come to the wedding again. He also needs my power to heal his dark corrosion divine flame. Bayao expressed her concern. Absolute confidence glowed in Xiao Chao's eyes. That's all right. He has the power of the Spirit Fish Clan behind him. Don't forget that we have the power of the 4-9 Immortal Sect, and even the entire Celestial Court behind us. If he dares to come, I'll make sure he never returns. A smile appeared on Bayao's face as she stared at Xiaoqiu. A sense of warmth welled up in her heart, as a sense of being protected welled up in her heart. This wedding had shaken the entire creation domain. Although the timing of the event was very rushed, almost all the representatives who had attended last month were present. Not only that, but all the powerhouses who didn't have time to attend last time were also present. The melon last time was too delicious. For this wedding, they were also looking forward to seeing if something could happen. Even if nothing happened, just watching the number one beauty of the Fox clan marry the ugly monkey was already very exciting. Because of this, the wedding this time was much grander than the last time. All the guests had arrived, and the experts were as numerous as the clouds. One after another, giant beasts or flying ships landed in the White Fox Imperial Palace. It was a magnificent sight and extremely lively. Enlin also saw Hong Do and his grandfather, Yudo. Haha, little friend Enlin, I didn't think that we would meet again so soon, Yudo said with a hearty laugh. Enlin also smiled and said, Greetings, Senior Yudo. Actually, I didn't expect that we would meet again so soon. Mr. Hong Do, I hope you won't do anything that will cause a misunderstanding. Hong Do's body trembled in fear as he recalled the horror of being dominated by Enlin's fists. He immediately nodded like a partridge. Don't worry, Mr. Enlin. Do I look like the type of person to cause trouble? Doesn't seem like it, Enlin said. A relaxed smile appeared on Hong Do's face. Enlin added, You've always been the kind of person who causes trouble and scams people. Hong Do was extremely depressed. My grandfather is right here. Can't you give me some face? Right at this moment, a very special steed pierced through the clouds and appeared before everyone. This was a massive silvery white disc with a smooth and streamlined surface. It didn't seem to be made from any cultivation tool. Instead, it looked like something from the heavens. All the living beings in the creation realm had never seen such a special steed before, and all of them let loose cries of surprise. The silvery white disc slowly descended, and a series of powerful living beings emerged from within. It's the 4-9 Immortal Sect. Some of the living beings let loose cries of surprise. All of the living beings turned toward that direction upon hearing this. The 4-9 Immortal Sect was the representative of the wedding, so they naturally attracted countless pairs of eyes. When all of the Fox tribe living beings turned toward the 4-9 Immortal Sect, All of them drew a sharp intake of breath as waves of shock surged through their hearts. There were beautiful and handsome people in this world. Su Xiaolan, Su Qinyun, Lu Qianhuan Bai Ling. All of them were extremely beautiful, and all of the vixens were extremely envious of them. There weren't many male representatives. The ordinary-looking Tang Shimin was automatically ignored, and Xiaozi was too handsome, so there was only Xian Yuan Cheng. However, Xian Yuan Cheng's offensive prowess was comparable to that of an entire army. Just a warm smile appeared on his face, and countless vixens began to squeal in excitement. Aside from that, there was also the most adorable beast pet, Shui Zhantian, who was extremely adorable to both men and women. The fox tribe was extremely sensitive to appearances, so they were completely won over by the 4-9 immortal sect. That's right, they had won them over with their invincible looks. Sai, why do you guys think a sect with such exceptional looks would have a strange living being like Xiao Chou? All of the fox tribe living beings discussed among themselves in a more reserved manner in order to save the groom some face. Perhaps it's because things can develop in the opposite direction when they reach an extreme, a fox speculated. The appearance of the 4-9 immortal sect members created a massive stir. Enlin happily ditched Hongdo upon seeing them before rushing toward the spaceship. Xiaolan, Su Qiu, Big Brother Cheng, Senior Sister. Enlin waved elatedly. Tang Shimin was a little disheartened upon seeing this. Why was Enlin greeting his harem? Was he that shameless? Enlin, I immediately applied for leave after hearing that Xiao Chou was going to celebrate, Xian Yuan Cheng said with an elated smile on his face. That's right. As the big sister of the beast pets, I can't be absent. Xiao Hong waved her red pouch as she spoke in a sweet voice. Enlin looked at Xiao Hong with a speechless expression. You still remember that you're my beast pet. If it weren't for the fact that you're still talking, I would have almost forgotten about you. Xiao Hong harumphed, but didn't say anything. Su Xiaolan made her way over to Enlin with a smile on her face before pulling out her frying pan and waving it in front of his face. Xiao Chou is celebrating a joyous occasion today, and the number 1 chef god of the celestial court, Su Xiaolan, is cooking in person. Enlin was quite amused by Su Xiaolan's reaction. All right, then I'll be relying on chef god Su Xiaolan's astonishing cooking skills to win over the new members of our family. As for the number 1 chef god of the celestial court, Su Xiaolan's status as a wife, Enlin was more than happy to hear about this frying pan. Xiao Chou and Bai Yao made their way over to greet them, and all of the 4-9 immortal sect members gave them a warm welcome. Bai Yao's beauty was already at the pinnacle of beauty, and she was even more alluring than Su Qinyun and Su Xiaolan. Everyone was stunned by her beauty. Congratulations, Big Brother Chou, on marrying the princess of the fox tribe. Shui Zhantian flapped his little wings as he offered words of congratulations. This is the second most joyous occasion for our 4-9 immortal sect. It's a pity that it's being held in such a hurry. Otherwise, we would be able to further develop the sect. Xiaozhe heaved a forlorn sigh. Enlin rolled his eyes. This disciple of his was too greedy for money. However, everyone nodded in agreement upon hearing this. Enlin, that's right, all of the higher-ups of the 4-9 immortal sect were trying to make money off of themselves. The sect opening ceremony was the most joyous occasion for them, and they had earned quite a bit of money from it. Now that there was a new member of the sect, it was only right for them to earn some money as well. How about this? Xiao Chou and Bai Yao return to the sect, and we'll hold another wedding. After all, we don't have much time, and very few cultivators from the Kingdom of the 9 States come here to attend the wedding. So we can't be biased, Enlin suggested. All of the 4-9 immortal sect members immediately clapped their hands in glee upon hearing this. Bai Yao was astonished. The mighty 4-9 immortal sect wanted to develop the sect through wedding gifts, and the sect leader was making it sound so natural. Could it be that she had entered a fake sect?